for the Father, with the sisters of the Son, and rock me on the water now. Rock me on the water. Sister, will you?
Well, hey, folks. We'll give it a minute to let people come in. I see you guys coming in like crazy right now. We'll feature some comments as y'all come in. My favorite jerk. Buddy Lindsay says, good Saturday. Hey, buddy, we're going to be fishing soon, aren't we? I've got some tunes in the background. If it ends up being louder or too loud where y'all can't hear me, somebody let me know, or if it needs to be a little louder to set the mood, because this is a chill day today, let me know, and either way, I will adjust that. That is Jackson Brown in the background. And for those that listened to the song that I played last week on Tuesday, and I said I would reveal the Pandora station that it came from, it's Van Morrison is the channel that's based on. If you build yourself a Van Morrison channel, you will end up with a lot of Jackson Brown on it. Here's the Mary. We'll hang on that for just a minute, and because I want to tell you what's in it before I have my first sip, though it's killing me not to. With that, let's get on into this, and I'll try to play DJ here too and skip any that don't really fit the mood that we're in. Hey, Tom, how you doing? All right. Tom's here. Nicole Sauce, living free in Tennessee, is with us. Lisa Davis is here. Adam's here. With all the comments I'm seeing, I think StreamYard's lying to me saying there's only 36 people here right now. It was up to like 56, and that means like 20 people ran away when they heard Jackson Brown, I guess. Anyway, let's start out with the important stuff, guys. I am on the microphone that is embedded in the webcam I use today, so it may not be the best audio, but it should be pretty decent. I tested before we went, but let's start with the drink. First of all, is anybody else out there imbibing in an early morning brunch time Bloody Mary with me? Let's just tell me if you've got one or you've got something else, coffee or whatever. Let me know what you got going on. Hey, Tom, thanks for letting me know on the sound. So the Bloody Mary is a drink that people all have their own way of making, and mine involves benevolent thievery. So you'll notice the beautiful little garnish I got going on there, and I'll tell you what's all on in a minute, but you might wonder how you do that. You do it with these really cool Bloody Mary trees that you can stab all kinds of stuff onto, and I did benevolent theft of that. One of my best friends in the world is a guy named David, and he's like a Bloody Mary freak, so anytime I want something, either to try it or whatever, I tell him about it, and I know he's going to buy it. Next time he comes to the house, he's going to make me a Bloody Mary with it, and 8 times out of 10, he forgets shit, so he's going to leave it behind. Those have been at my house for 2 years now. I wonder if he's replaced them yet. But the coup de grace on this, you can see that the rim has a nice little garnish on it there. And that's this stuff here that I make up myself, folks. How do you make this? First of all, you need to go to tspaz.com. Just kidding. You need a coffee grinder to do this. I take about 5 pieces of bacon and I fry them crisp. And I usually use the pre-cooked stuff we get from Costco for this because it's so fast and easy. And I throw them after they're crisp but not burnt, throw them in the freezer just to really make sure they're hard. And then I break them up and throw them in the coffee grinder, and I grind that up. And then I add salt, which you just, whatever salt you want to use. I actually, for this kind of making it special, I use a salt that I get that is made from kelp off the coast of Japan. And then black pepper. And the amounts, I don't know, whatever you think is right. I don't really measure it. So I take black peppercorns, throw those in the grinder and grind those up. And then I get dehydrated celery. And, a couple tablespoons, whatever, of the dehydrated celery. I grind that into a celery powder. And I mix it in a jar like this, and that'll make an awful lot of Bloody Marys. So that's that. Then we got David's tree. And, of course, you got to save a piece of bacon because you got to have breakfast, right? So we'll have breakfast with this. Now we got some aquaponics grown celery. This is the real celery, not that fancy stuff they sell in the store. It's good and bitter and nice. And then we got ourselves a couple cherry tomatoes. We got a blue cheese stuffed olive. We got a jalapeno stuffed olive, and we got a jalapeno quail egg. And of course, the quail egg, it's rolled in all that goodness of that that dust we made. So that's all said and done. How's she taste? You can see why Hemingway got hooked on these things for hangovers. As far as the mix, I didn't have time to go making up my own special mix. This is one of my favorite mixes. It's about a 2 out of 5 peppers on the heat scale, so it's something most people that like a little bit of spice can drink. So there we go. I don't know if anybody else chimed in that they actually made a Mary. Lots of coffee going down and goat's milk and things like that. Sweet tea from Buddy. Dan's at least, you know, trying. He's got him an Irish coffee. We all know what that means. But I'll tell you, Bloodies really are one of my favorite things to enjoy on a day like today. It's the reason I decided to do this is a few different things. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about, and I wanted to have one of these feeds where we just kind of hang out and chat. And I'm even willing, like, once we get some things done here, if any of y'all want to come on, I'll pop a link in, and hopefully nobody will abuse that, and we can bring some folks on with me here. Excuse me while I have my breakfast and we chat. The other reason is I'm without wife this weekend. My wife is on a girls' weekend down in Fredericksburg. So the house is peaceful and quiet, and I'm alone, and I got nothing to do. Actually, I got tons of stuff to do, but I don't have anything to do that I feel like doing. I got almost everything ready to go for the workshop to go on sale. We'll talk about that in a second. So I've got the downtime, and I wanted to do something with some of y'all that like to hang out in these streams where we're not like so drilled and focused on something where I can actually pay attention to what y'all are saying. That's why we're not on Flote and Odysee today, so I can actually just have all the comments in one place. And we're talking about some ideas I even have to where I think, you know, maybe Flote could do some things that would make their live streams better than YouTube's, other than just the fact that they're not YouTube. I got some ideas. We'll talk about that today. So just to kind of hang out. And yep, Daniel Roundabouts. It only started about 6 minutes ago. It's going to get better from here. We're going to have some fun today. So can y'all hear? I mean, I can't tell what y'all can hear. Can y'all hear the music in the background? Is it about the right Harambe? If somebody let me know that. And he's trolling me in Jack's feed. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk about today, because I know a lot of y'all are pretty wound up over it, is the potato salad and Chiefs mandate. I saw some comments about that before we even got started about the COVID vaccine. And I'm going to tell you flat out, I'm not going to get wound up about this. And it's not just because it doesn't directly affect me, because I don't work for a company with more than 100 employees in it. And FEMA can very well go screw themselves. And so can Joe Biden. The reason I'm not going to get wound up about it yet is at this point, and this is something we have to like really start dialing in when it comes to reacting to government. Actually, nothing's happened except some senile old man that unfortunately has power came out and said it's going to happen. What it's going to look like, how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how quickly it's going to get tied up in the court systems, et cetera, we don't know that yet. So we all know that the administration that's in charge right now would immediately issue a mandate for everybody and have you drug out of your house and given an injection against your will if you could get away with it. So it shouldn't be any surprise that they would push the limits of what they can do. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I'm going to tell you my gut on this is that there's two things going on here. One is, how many of these employers can we nudge that we're right on the edge of doing it anyway? We give them air cover for their employees or whatever, and we can nudge them into doing it, even if there's not actually a mandate yet. So I do think there is a desire. There's a magic number in these people's heads that if we can just get to 70%, it'll all go away, and no, it won't. We know it won't. The highest vaccinated country, well, I'd say one of the highest, if not the highest vaccinated countries in the world right now is Israel, and their cases are spiking like crazy because, surprise, surprise, it doesn't actually work. It may mitigate symptoms for some people, but it also causes problems for others, and having now had COVID myself, I don't think it's worth doing unless you are at severe risk of COVID and you believe that your severe risk of COVID outweighs your severe risk of, well, what could happen if you have whatever condition makes you a severe risk for COVID is a severe risk for the vaccine. When you read news articles that say things like, man dies of COVID, he was vaccinated, doctor said it could have been worse without the vaccine. And that's a real headline. Like, you just know reason has been thrown out the window. And if I'm going to get upset every time they throw reason out the window or threaten us with something, I'm not going to get anything done, right? So I'm just going to go on about my life, because I think the bigger thing that's going on here is this is what everybody's talking about right now. And everybody's talking about it, well, what else is going on in the world? You know, there is more than one thing happening in the world. The biggest problem the Biden administration has right now is what? Afghanistan. And all of a sudden, the media is on and on about, let's debate this thing. Is it constitutional? Is it not constitutional? We have rah-rahs cheering. It's about time Joe Biden did us. They have these morons on like MSNBC and CNN saying he should use an iron fist or whatever. And, you know, if Trump did any of this shit, they would have lost their minds, or any Republican, and vice versa. But now everybody's talking about this, and everybody's ignoring the fact that we have American citizens stranded in Afghanistan, and that the Taliban is one of the most armed entities on the planet today with U.S. armament. So I think the real reason for taking this dramatic step that would trigger such a response that probably isn't going to actually happen, it certainly won't be enforceable, and many employers are just going to say, you know what, fine, man, I'm not paying you, talk to my lawyer, because we're reaching a point of critical mass. And it's not a critical mass of resistance, it's a critical mass of the resistance that's always been there. And that there are companies that if they enforce this, what they're doing is they're going to put themselves into bankruptcy and insolvency. Because if you have 30 to 40% of people that will not do this, and I'm going to tell you, I think that I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to tell you, I think that if you do something like this, the people that were not going to get vaccinated, show of hands here, yes or no, whatever, in the comments, in the chat. Does this make you more, if you haven't been vaccinated, does this make you more or less likely to submit to a vaccination? And I think for most people, it's going to be less likely. Like, if you want to make people who are already resistant to this shit dig their heels in even harder and give the big double burden, say, no way, chap, it ain't happening. Come to my house and I'll die on this hill. I'll put a bullet in you before I let you do this to me or my family. This is what you do. This is actually completely counter to increasing the number of people getting vaccinated. Because there are people that are just like, I'm not going to do this. And I think that this is what everybody that's in an employment situation right now that this is affecting needs to tell their employer. Before your employer even says they're going to do it or not do it, I need you to know I'm not doing this. If you need me to submit to a test, I'll do it once, right? Maybe once a quarter or something, but I'm not doing this weekly. I'm not taking this vaccine. And if you implement this policy, you're going to have to fire me because I am not going to give you the benefit of my resignation. And I'm going to need you. Now we got to get, they know I'm talking, so now they send a helicopter, right? Jackasses. All right. So you need to, I mean, and maybe I need to be, I think we need a lawyer to draft this letter, not me. I'm pretty good at legalism, but I think this really needs to be drafted by a lawyer. It needs to be downloadable by anybody for free, anywhere, widely distributed. I'm going to need you when you terminate my employment, given that you have no reason to terminate my employment other than the fact that I refuse to take this vaccination. I refuse to mask myself, whatever. That's the only reason you're terminating my employment. Karen and HR, before I leave the premises, because I'm coming back until I get this signed, I need someone that's an official designated representative of my company to sign this piece of paper. And I need it notarized that it really was you that did it. And I need you to go on record that you're terminated, because I'm not resigning. I employed at one time, I ran a company, we employed directly over 100 people, and we had 2,500 contractors around the world. And I can tell you that when you tell an employee, well, we'll allow you to resign instead of terminating you, unless they're like a doctor in a major hospital or something like that, like some kind of like top neurosurgeon making $12 million a year, unless it's somebody like that, the benefit is not to the employee. The benefit's to the employer. I didn't terminate you. You're not making my unemployment go up. And they say, well, you won't get unemployment. We don't know yet. That decision hasn't been made yet. And we need to scare these people. And you need to talk to every single person that you know, that you trust, that you work with, and say, do you feel this way too? And I think that all of you need to go tell them straight up, this is what you're doing to yourself. Because I know as an employer, if I have a small company with, you know, even like one, and I think you need to tell this to employers that are little or big. It doesn't matter if it's only 20 people, 20-man shop. They still need to know, you better not do this because I'm not doing it. But even if you have like 150 employees, if 50 employees say, you have to fire me, I'm not doing this, that's 30% of your workforce. Your company's out of business. And you're also talking about, I think the numbers are higher than the total. And the reason I think that the numbers are higher than the total is because a lot of the people that are like, I call them vax-tards, like they don't just want to, if you want a vaccine, go ahead, get it. That's fine. But the ones that actually think that everybody needs to get it and are just in denial of like the numbers on the ground, the facts, et cetera, many of those people don't have jobs right now. They're not at work right now. They're not at work, the kind of work where you have to go in. Like if they are working, they're typing on a computer at home or whatever. So when you look at, you know, a restaurant and their servers, and you might think, well, a restaurant's probably got under 100. Yeah, but if it's not independent, you know, they'll say, well, Brinker, you have 55,000 employees countrywide, you know, and all your on the border and Cheddars or whatever, like you have to do this. Like, but if you have 30-40% of that on-hand workforce walk out the door, you can't run your business. You're out of business. And you're talking about completely cratering the U.S. economy. And if the employer says no, and you have 30 to 40% of the employers that this applies to say no, the whole thing's dead. I don't care what FEMA writes. I don't care what federal judges say. When you get that kind of numbers, it's over. It's dead. And you can say, and I know I've talked about automation in the workplace. Who's saying that? Ronald, right? But I'm sorry, there's just stuff you're not automating yet. I'm sorry, there's just a ton of stuff that needs to get done that people do right now. And what we can do over the next 20, 25 years is totally different than what they can do in the next 20 to 25 days or next 20 to 25 months. When we start pushing back simply by saying no, then we have something. When we're out in the streets and we're chanting and yelling and waving flags or banners or whatever and, you know, what have you, we're not really accomplishing anything. They don't give a shit when you protest. They like when you protest. Either the protest you're doing furthers their agenda directly, or the protest you're doing furthers their agenda indirectly. When it's Black Lives Matter burning a city down, it furthers their agenda directly. When it's some half-naked dude dressed like a buffalo taking a crap on Nancy Pelosi's desk, it furthers their agenda indirectly, in that now you can say the other side is dangerous and you send 12 times more troops to the Capitol building for 90 days to protect 500 members of Congress than you sent to get our people out of Afghanistan. Well done, guys, you know? And so they understand this. I'm looking here. Eric, what's Eric saying? So what's the solution to beating COVID? Go on with your freaking life, dude. The entire solution here is to take this thing that is a really bad cold that knocks like 0.1% of people that get it in the ass and just say, hey, life is life. Shit happens. Have we forgotten? I guess we have. Have we forgotten that the people that founded this country fought a war in the middle of a smallpox epidemic that actually killed people, like in actual numbers. The solution to COVID is to stop being afraid of it. You know the number one solution to COVID? Who can put it in the comments section? Who knows what I'm going to say? What's the primary way that you can make COVID stop being a problem in your life? And it's not nutritional supplements or anything like that. Turn off the fucking TV. Turn off the TV. Turn off the radio. Stop worrying about it. And then learn about it so that if you do get it and you do have a problem, that you can do something about it for yourself. When we got COVID, Dorothy and I, one of the mistakes we made is we stopped taking the quercetin and zinc, which is probably the best individual thing you can do for nutritional support for any virus. But I'd been on it for so long, I took a break from it to kind of let my kidneys reboot, because you're putting any substance in your body for that long over and over again. You kind of need to do that. Then you get out of the habit. And I really think either we wouldn't have had it or we would have had it much milder. And it was pretty mild to begin with. So that was one thing. The other thing we did, we had zinc, we had Z-Packs, and we had hydroxychloroquine on hand. And if I had come across the opportunity before it happened, I would have had ivermectin as well. And so we immediately went on that. And that knocked it in the ass. I don't care what they say. It knocked it in the ass like overnight. My wife got really, really bad sore throat in the beginning before we even knew it was COVID. And I didn't realize how bad it was. And she didn't tell me she wasn't drinking fluids. And she went 2.5 days barely drinking. So she was severely dehydrated. Now, if we had taken her to an ER, she probably would have been admitted to the hospital 2-3 days later, because they wouldn't have gave her fluids, because they would have said something stupid like, well, fluids are not treatment for COVID. Yeah, but you know what fluids are fucking treatment for? Dehydration. So what did we do? We hired a local company called Hydration Pros, and there's tons of these companies all over the country. It's Billy Roy Bob over there. We hired them, and an hour after we made the call, they were at our house. They gave her 2 units of fluids, a ton of vitamins, glutathione, just a whole concoction of nutritional support on top of the fluids. And then they left, and 15 minutes later, she fell asleep and slept like a rock for 8 hours. And after that, it wasn't even a big deal. The other thing that we did with that was when we realized what was going on, we, instead of going to an ER or something, which would be stupid, we went to a family practice physician who we had already vetted out, because our daughter-in-law worked for him, as not being retarded about all this. And they said, oh, you have an extreme sore throat. You can't swallow. You have inflammation. Let us give you a steroid shot. And she said, okay. And they gave her a steroid shot, and the swelling in her throat was gone. But almost by the time she got home, she started drinking. And when you get that dehydrated, even if you'll drink a lot, it's hard to catch up. And that's why we had by taking it into our own hands, I don't think either of us were ever in danger of dying. I do think my wife was probably in danger of adding to the hospitalization count, because hospitals are stupid, money-grubbing sons of bitches right now. And they're following protocol, not medical practice and procedure. As soon as you diagnose the patient with COVID, there's a list of things you can and can't do that the government will or will not pay for. And if it's not on the list of things the government will pay for, many doctors, many hospitals aren't doing it. So how do we beat COVID? Quit being stupid. Quit worrying about something that you have. I mean, think about it this way. There's tons of, not mandatory surgeries. Elective surgeries. There's tons of elective surgeries that people get done every day because of a cosmetic reason or just because they'll be more comfortable. And they have like a risk of death just because you're using general anesthesia that's as high or higher than COVID. Okay, so when your uncle calls you and says, hey man, the doctor says I need to have an appendectomy, you're like, okay, Uncle Bill, I hope you do well. And maybe you say a prayer for Uncle Bill when you go to bed that night or whatever, but you don't go flying into Sheboyganville and sitting at Uncle Bill's bedside and praying to God that he survives an appendectomy. You know that anytime anybody goes under general anesthesia, that there is a risk. Anytime a doctor cuts into anybody's body, there's a risk, but we accept that risk, right? Because it just makes sense. The good outweighs the bad. And then that person makes that decision themselves. If someone has like some sort of a cosmetic problem, but they're going to have to go under general anesthesia, and the surgery itself has like a half-point risk of death, no one says, hey, he looks stupid. We need to make him get the surgery for his own good. He'll be better off. And nobody says we can't let him do it. We just say, hey, it's a low risk. And there's a lot of surgeries people have done that's elective that have huge risks to it. And we don't worry about that. But then we're going to shut down society. We're going to worry about how to beat something that we effectively, by having an immune system in a population of 9 billion people, it was beat before it started. We don't have a pandemic. We have a government-imposed disaster. This is not a problem. And I don't want to speak like, okay, if you have somebody you care about that got really sick from this or even died, I don't mean to belittle that. I'm just saying that people die every year. 600,000 people a year die in this country from complications due to obesity alone. And we haven't outlawed Twinkies and Krispy Kremes over that. And people say shit like, well, you know, it affects other people, and being obese doesn't affect other people. Really? So you don't think anybody didn't get a freaking kidney transplant who had a legitimate problem because some 400-pound person that blew up their kidneys got the kidney first? You don't think that having like the #1 expense medically in our entire society today being type 2 diabetes, and it's the #1 expense, you don't think that affects the rest of us that don't have type 2 diabetes? And type 2 diabetes, except for like there's like a 1/10 of 1% of people that get it, that it really is a medical condition. It's nothing but what you put in your mouth. So don't tell me it doesn't affect me, or it doesn't affect everybody listening to me today. Of course it does. But do you want to outlaw Krispy Kremes? All right, that's a rant. We need to get off the rants and start having some fun. One thing about these, they don't stay put. You got to get the finger right when you drink. All right, let's talk about something else. Many of y'all have heard me talk about a church someday, a Church of Liberty, Church of Agora, Church of something. That when, I'm going to stop real quick just for a second. You see that right there? You see that comment there by Ferment Farms? What happened to the flu? I agree, but I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of people that say that, and what they imply is there is no COVID. It doesn't exist. It's just the flu. If that's you, don't do it. That's not intelligent. That's not science. You're as anti-scientific as the person that thinks a cloth mask prevents the spread of a virus. I'm sorry. There is a COVID, and basically it's a flu. It's a cold. It's a bat cold. And these jagoffs probably did make it in that Chinese laboratory. I think it's the most plausible thing. All right, the church. I've said for years that we should have a liberty-oriented church, and that it should be something that we can stand under as an umbrella under religious protections. The state is a lot like the Matrix. A bad bat cold. This is exactly what it is. But the state is a lot like the Matrix. And one of the things that we learned in the movie The Matrix is that the rules, on some level, don't get me wrong here, like they're going to follow the rules. The rules apply to everybody. So we're going to lose music here, guys. That's the speaker dying, so I might as well just give up on it. Maybe we can play it directly on the... Since we're just looking for low volume, we'll get it on the phone. But if you remember the Matrix, like, Morpheus would tell Neo, like, the rules apply to them the same as they apply to us. When you enter the Matrix, you agree to the Matrix's rules. So they've created these rules that that give certain protections to religious organizations. And I've always thought we could use that to our advantage. And I thought about, like, the Church of Libertarianism or something like that. And I always actually saw that, this is a jalapeno one, as having a weakness. It wasn't big enough. About 3 weeks ago, I was drinking a margarita, and about an hour from going out to the pool and floating for a while, I decided to do something totally crazy. I decided to create a global religion in an afternoon. And I started it in a MeWe group. And it was going to be a church based on cryptology and the blockchain. And over a week, our numbers grew from 0 to about 200 people saying, yeah, I want in on this. It kind of morphed and changed into something that would look a little bit more like a church. And I think maybe church isn't the right word for it. Maybe more of a faith or a spirituality to the state. And it's now known as, I'm going to have to eat that rooster, the Church of Universal Faith. Something like that. Let me look it up. I can't even remember what I called it. I'm the founder. Yeah. The Church of Universal. Man, that rooster is distracting. The Church of Unified Faiths. I'm sorry. So I can't even get this right. I'm not in charge of it. The Church of Unified Faiths. And if you want to know more about it, you can go to the website. I'll just drop it in the chat. But it's tcouf.org. And maybe somebody can drop the link for the MeWe group that will let you get in the door, because right now it's invite only. It really isn't, but you have to find the way in. And we've kind of hid that to prevent spam and problems. You know what? Left Seat Adventures, if he didn't make really pretty, amazing babies, he would have graduated a week ago, at least. But the church runs on 12 declarations. And when I first thought about this, I thought about like playing it up where it was like thou shalt not or whatever. And I like, why do that? Why not create something that literally would let anybody of any faith be part of it, if they just agreed to the basic common moral ethics that we all know in our heart and soul to be true. And basically the 12 ethics or 12 declarations are really, you could sum it all up in a single sentence: don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. But if you do that, people always want more, and maybe it's not clear what that means to different people. So here's the 12 declarations that I wrote, and don't let anybody get too hairy when you hear the word God in this, because if you are an atheist, you are welcome. If you are a devout Baptist, you are welcome. Anybody is welcome. But I believe that God manifests in all beings, and there is no higher authority than God. So all humans are sovereign over themselves. I believe that God is the creative force that caused all things and all beings to exist in all of space and time. I believe that all humans have a right to define the creative force, the unified faith referred to as God, for themselves. And I respect that freedom exists for all human beings. I believe that it is wrong to harm others in any way other than to defend yourself or to defend others who are being aggressed upon. Further, I believe the defense of self and others should be limited to sufficient force to halt aggression. 5, I believe that it is immoral to take rightful property of others through force or deception of any kind, that all humans have a right to resist any attempt to deprive them of their rightful property without their consent. 6, I believe that all humans have sovereign rights to their body, what is done to their body, and what goes or does not go into it. I believe that this right is absolute. 7, I believe that all humans have an absolute right to associate or not associate with any other humans of their choosing. 8, I believe that all humans have an absolute right to conduct commerce or refuse commerce with any other humans of their choosing. 9, I believe that all humans have an absolute right to free speech other than to call for or intentionally create aggression upon or harm to others. 10, I believe all humans have an absolute right to privacy in their own lives and in their voluntary interactions with others. 11, as a member of the Church of United Faith, I pledge on my sacred honor to make every reasonable effort to comply with every article of the declarations of faith at all times. 12, I declare that as a member of the church, I accept that all members are founders and equal in the church, that all members are ministers in the church, that I will treat all members as brothers and sisters at all times and do so in accordance with the declarations of faith. And that might stretch some people a bit, but I think the reason that it stretches people is because it's one of the first totally pure things you've ever heard. My biggest problem with a lot of religions in the world is they exist as pillars of division when they don't have to, and they're probably not generally intended to. They get co-opted. And as I've started this, there's a lot of people that are looking, what's the structure? Is it a 501c or, it's not a 501 anything. There is no structure. And if you want to compare it to another world faith, like there's no Vatican. Christianity is not the Vatican. The Vatican is the headquarters of Catholicism. There are other faiths that have kind of a hierarchy, priests and apostles or whatever, right? The Methodist Church is kind of like, and Lutheran Church are kind of like Catholic Light, and they have their own hierarchy and headquarters and incorporations and things and how they deal with the state. The religion is Christianity. There is no headquarters of Christianity unless you consider it to be heaven, whatever that is for you. There are churches that say they're Christian churches. They're not associated with any other church anywhere else other than through the umbrella that is Christendom. There's no place to go other than that one place. It stands in of itself. People all the time, especially in the United States that respects religious freedom mostly, decide we're going to start a church, and they say we're a Church of Christ or a Church of God or whatever, and they pull together and they start a church, and maybe they incorporate so that they can move money around, but they're their own thing, and they sit under this umbrella. In a way, see, here's the thing. People always want to worry about shit. Ronald Cole Jr., what if the church is taking over the town, Jack? Ronald Cole Jr., would that violate the 12 declarations? Yes? Okay, don't worry about it. That's their problem. And would others have a right to resist that? Yep, there you go. And what if the whole town wants to be that way? Not your concern. Stop worrying about other people and start worrying about yourself. You notice there was nothing in the declarations about anything that anybody else was required to do? It doesn't say other people have to do this for me. It said, I believe this is right and I believe this is wrong and I will act accordingly so. There's no commandments. That's going to hurt. Those are the hottest damn pickled eggs I've ever made. I needed to get that thing out of there, though. Yeah, there's no command. There's no what others must do. There's only what you agree to do. So my hope is eventually, okay, see this? This is right here. This is why we can't have nice things. Why did the U.S. fight for Israel for the last 20 years? Here I am talking about something everybody can agree with, and Dave, out of the blue, in no way related to what we're talking about at all, wants to talk about Israel and Zionism and the United States being Israel's puppet, because that's what that one comment means right there. Dave, if I had the time, I would just bounce you out of the chat if you're going to keep doing that, because it's not helpful to what we're talking about today. And no one's even arguing with you. No one's having this discussion but you, right? See, is there a way I can get rid of him? Is there? Put user in a timeout. Cool. He's in a timeout. He'll shut up for a while now. I don't know how long that lasts. See, here we are talking about a solution, and our friend wants to bring all his politics and all his baggage with him. We'll see. I don't know if that worked or not. I still see him showing up. We'll see. Anyway, back to, man, I hate people like that. Good Lord. What I'm trying to say is I don't want to tell anybody what to do. I'm not in charge. Did I cancel Nicole? Or did somebody else do it? I don't know how I can bring Nicole back if I canceled her. I'm sorry, Nicole. You guys are commenting so fast that I missed. She'll be all right. I think she can still hear, but I shut Dave up for 5 minutes. Nicole she'll be back in 5. I'm sure she has friends that can comment for her. All right. So people always want to be told what to do. They want someone to define things for them. You notice in the declarations it said that every person that is a member of the faith gets to define God for themselves. You would say, a Christian and a Jew, a Muslim, a Buddhist, and a Hindu would all define God differently, right? And they would. But two people that every week sit next together in a pew at the same church also define God differently. It's innate human characteristics. I can take those two people and say, what happens to a person that fill in the blank? And one will say, well, God forgives them and they go to heaven. The other will say, no, they're going to go to hell. And one will say they don't know. And one will say, well, I think. And one will say, well, I know. Well, all of those people that are all part of that same church, and I mean a physical individual church, just all define God differently. So why don't we accept that that's the case? Why don't we accept that that's the case and think about how no matter how you got here, you are a product of creation. See, this isn't just a gimmick. This is what I really believe. And what I really believe is that most people do believe this. They don't know how to express it. They're inherently damaged by the states. And they would like to be able to live this way, but they feel that they can't. And the system is designed so that it is difficult to live totally in consort with realizing you're a child of God. And remember, if that upsets you, if you're an atheist and you believe that just through random assemblage of things that this whole universe kicked off and it all accumulated in human beings and other beings, other places, then evolution is your God under this faith. Just as I have people I'm looking at that I know are like very, very serious about their Christian faith and their God is their God. And all I'm saying is we have to respect each other's view of that and recognize that the rights inherent to others as to how we are required to treat them are the same. Now, if that's not a faith, I don't know what is. Because can I prove that? I can't prove that. That's what makes it faith. Faith isn't something you know. Faith is something you believe. If whatever version of all the world's religions of God was true, if that version of God descended down to here and said, here I am, this is me, get the cameras, bring the media in, I will show you what I am and how I am, and I will tell you all the things you should be doing and all the ways things should be and all the things I actually want from you, to the point where there was no misgivings. It wasn't CGI. It was real. And everybody knew it was real. And everybody said, did you see God last week on TV? We'd require zero faith in that God. We would have knowledge. We would know. That which we know we do not have to have faith in. And so under the definition of what faith is, and an article of faith, the belief that there is a right and a wrong way to treat others is a faith. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying I can't prove it. How can I prove that it's actually wrong for me to go over to Nicole's house and steal a bag of her coffee? Everybody says, of course, it's wrong. How do you know? Do animals steal from each other all the time? Isn't that just the way things work? Right? Nicole is back. Right? Isn't that just the way things work? So this church is now open. It is not ever going to be a registered entity anywhere. My original thought was, let's make it a DAO. Let's use an encrypted wallet. Let's do, commerce with each other in it. And I thought, founding a world religion is enough. Let the people of the religion define what they'll do with it. So I do hope that at some point we can develop like a United Faiths wallet or something that allows encrypted messaging and encrypted transactions. And I think that technology is coming. So why should we build it? Right? It already exists to a degree. I'd kind of like to get to a point where we almost have like a Bitcoin vending machine with a privacy token on the other side of it. Because I think that our most stable and long-term thing we can bet on in the world of cryptography is Bitcoin. So imagine it's like, it's like a vending machine, but it's online. It's some sort of tech. And you put in a Bitcoin, and for every Bitcoin that comes in, 1,000 freedom tokens come out. And they're a privacy token. As private as like Monero or a pirate chain. But there's a fixed ratio. Like they don't float independently. So if it's 1,000 to 1 and Bitcoin goes to $1 million, there's still 1,000 to 1. And so it's just basically like a wrapped or a liquid Bitcoin, but it's private. And you can always get it back. And there's some sort of security lock on it using, there had to be some fee for it. Maybe it's like a 1% gas fee or something to use some sort of blockchain security, because you have to have security of both sides. Bitcoin can take care of itself. You have to have security of the issued tokens to make sure they can't be double spent, over issued, etc. And then it just is. And then there's no, like, if you come to me and put a gun to my head and say, give us all the data, I shoot me. I can't. That's something I'd like to see, but I'm not going to build it. I can't do that. And I don't want to do it. I think that'll happen for itself. And maybe somebody will build it and have nothing to do with this, and we just use it. I think that's how most of it will come. When I came up with this idea, I had people, well, what about missionaries? Like, that are going to go around the world and save people. Do whatever you want, man. I'm not going to tell you that's what you should be doing with your time. If that's what you want to do, then you do it. What about an actual place where people can come together and meet? I don't know. You can do that if you want to. And if you want to do that and you want to charter yourself as a private ministry or a 501c, whatever. Now, see, I think 501c, they should take away the C and they should put 501SEE. Because what it does is it allows the government to see into what you're doing and tell you what you can and can't do. When you become a 501c ministry, the government tells you what you can and can't do about politics. I find that to be horseshit. I think DAOs are the way that this works. Now, I know I might bend some people wrong here, but I think that if I found a church, and I'm talking about a physical church, and every week we meet in this building full of all these gorgeous oak pews, and each one of those pews costs $5,000, and we have $20,000 of stained glass up on the wall, and I have a mortgage as a minister that I have to fund for $7,000 a month to keep that building from being repossessed by the bank. 7 acres of land around it that we have to pay people to landscape for us and whatever, and property taxes because they don't pay income tax. But as far as I know, churches do pay property taxes, and we have to fund all that from the people that sit their butts in the pews every week so they can spend an hour there. I personally don't want to do that because I don't think it's a good use of the funds of the people that are a member of the church. Get 10 guys together, go to Denny's and have breakfast and talk about it. I mean, even if you want to go back into the Christian faith, right? The earlier apostles and all, when one of them would write a letter to the church of whatever, they were just talking about the people that lived in that place that were brothers in Christ. They weren't talking about a building. They weren't like writing a letter to a church that, like, what's his name down there in Houston has? The guy with the giant smile. What the hell's his name? Osteen. Joel. They weren't like the Church of Joel Osteen. That's what I'm talking about, is being able to create this belief system. And people ask me, like, well, do I have to quit my church to become a member? Well, we're not a cult, so no. That's like saying, do I have to quit my church so I can join a gentleman's club or something like that, where we go hunting every, three times a year or something? No. Now, if your church says you have to quit, that's your church's problem. That's not United Faiths. Everybody's faith. Now, more's coming on this. I don't want to say too much more today. There's going to be a big coming out sermon, because I've been asked to do sermons, and I don't want to be the only one teaching this stuff, but I'm going to do kind of a big sermon that will be live streamed at TSP Fall-21. So one of the sessions, and it will be, even though I am not a Southern Baptist, it will be in that vein. It will sound like a Southern Baptist preacher. It will call on you to think differently about everything in your life. But when I say United Faiths, I literally mean United Faiths of our creation. And any human on this planet that has the IQ of a carrot sticker above believes that no matter how we got here, that we got here somehow, that we are creation. See, Bonnie's trying to make this about religion instead of faith. Church membership is a red flag. Get baptized into the body of the Messiah, not the church or denomination. Whatever you want, man, but I'm telling you flat out, that's not how this works. And as the guy that created it on a Saturday afternoon, I'm not in charge, but I do get to say that. The church of not being afraid of stupid shit. And I would just say, go look at those declarations on the site. And the only question you have to ask is, do you believe that or not? And if you don't believe it, you shouldn't be part of what we're doing. And if you do believe it, then no matter what else you believe about God, you should be part of what we're doing. And I will say that I don't want to give away too much of my sermon. But if people acted on that, there'd be no such thing as a war. If the vast majority of people in this world acted on those 12 declarations, we wouldn't even be able to have a war. It wouldn't exist. It'd be impossible. And that's interesting. Because I've seen wars under the name of every faith that exists on any significant level. And people believe when they go to war, if they believe in a God, they believe that God is on their side, or they wouldn't go to war. Don't worry. If you're an atheist, you have to put yourself in the mind of the other party for a minute here. If you're a president or a general or whatever, and you believe in a version of God, and you're going to take your people to war, there's only two beliefs that you can have where you would make the decision to go to war. One would be that God just doesn't get involved. I'll give you that. Okay, fine. You can believe in God, and God doesn't get involved in the day-to-day actions of human beings. Okay. If you believe God does get involved, that God supports men and women, that God picks a side, and most people of any faith tend to believe that, then if you're going to take your side to war, you have to believe that God's on your side, or you wouldn't do it. Because if you believed in God, and you believed God got involved, and you believed God was against you, then how stupid would you have to be to go to war against God? You'd have to be really stupid. Which means that every war that we've ever had, where the people in power on either side believed in some version of God, every time one of them was wrong. Every time. But if we get into a point where, by our very belief, force can only be used sufficient to counter aggression when the other party's aggressing upon us, we can't have war. We certainly can't travel across the planet to bomb people that never bothered us. not and be consistent with our faith. Anyway, I'm going to let that go for now. Anybody that wants to be part of it, you can learn more there. The MeWe group is a good way to meet people if you're not inside already. It's an invite-only process, but it's pretty simple, and we will happily let you in. The main reason it's invite-only right now anyway is because when you put up a membership site, you end up with 400 bots making 5,000 million spam accounts. That's appropriate, isn't it, for what we're talking about? Come on, people, get together now. So let's talk a little bit about TSP 21. Anybody here coming? Nicole's back now since I accidentally smacked her hand and didn't let her talk. I'm glad I didn't like ban you, Nicole. I was going to ban him, and I thought, no, look, I can do a timeout. But so Nicole's coming for sure. I'm hoping other people do. It's not next Saturday. I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but it's the next Saturday. All right, so next Saturday, and then one more Saturday, we'll go on sale. It'll probably be 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And you want to get on the TSP Discord announcement channel or the TSP Telegram. The Telegram channel or the Telegram group or both. I am going to, at the appropriate time, drop the sign-up link into Telegram. And then I'll give it 10 minutes, and then I'll put it on the main website if there's any tickets left. Last year, I believe it was 2 minutes, and they were gone. And then I looked at them and said, okay, there's enough people carpooling, not bringing a car, taking an Uber, that I can add like 10 more. And when I added the 10 more, those were gone in seconds. So if you want to come, you need to make sure that you're in the Telegram, or you're probably not coming. You're probably not coming. And this is going to be a good year. Because not only will there be a raging Reverend Jack speech, that's going to be one little thing for about 30 minutes. It will be awesome because it's always awesome. It'll be awesome because Nicole will be here, and I won't mute her. She will be, as always, our mistress of ceremonies. So I can't say the name. You got a Shauna Tourism. I want to come to TSP, but I have some questions. Can I email you about it? You can email me, but I don't really know what questions you'd ask. It's a party. You come hang out and you learn a bunch of stuff. And when I put out the post this week, it'll probably answer most of your questions. But you certainly can. And you can always email me, TSPC in the subject line. Make sure I read it. But yeah, I'd ask on Telegram. Definitely, if you ask in the TSP Telegram group, any questions you have will be answered. But I want to tell you some of the things we're going to be doing this year. I have a really great herbalist that reached out to me, and as long as she gets back to me with what I asked her for, we'll probably have 1 or 2 sessions on herbalism. No, she's not allowed to break my grinder anymore, dude. I don't let her touch my grinder. I need my grinder to make this stuff like this. You make this with the coffee grinder. Dr. Ken Berry's coming, and I'm giving him 2 sessions this year, so there'll be 2 sessions with Ken Berry. Like I said, we'll probably have an herbalist session. Nick Ferguson will be here. Nick and I will probably do some stuff on property, explaining some of the things here. Jake Robinson, who I pick on like crazy, and we all will dogpile questions on him during his presentation, but I'm actually really impressed with the work he's done on locating, finding, and buying raw land. He's done a great job with that. He'll be doing a presentation on how to use technology to identify and find raw land for purchase. I don't have 100% yet, but certainly he's going to try to make it. John Bush should be here, and John is always enjoyable to have. There's a ton of people. If you are a person that's been before, there's going to be a ton of people coming that you'll probably know. And I think one of the things that people, are we going to build anything? Not really. There may be a little project or two, but this is going to be more of kind of more academic session type workshop this year. I don't have a lot more to build. We may do some stuff with some landscaping type stuff, basically do some mulching or something like that. We'll definitely do some walkthroughs of the hydro and the aquatics and the food forest and all that, but we're not really building anything this year. But those that haven't ever been to one, if you can get to one, come. And I don't say that as some dude pimping his event, because I don't have to pimp this. I could put 150 people in this event if I had the parking space and the accommodation capability. And I've thought about at times, like, how could I do that, right? Because I don't hate money. I'm all for selling more tickets, but I think we've collectively figured out that the number of people we had last fall, which was about 80 people total, that was staff and students, is the perfect top. Because I actually do get to talk to everybody, at least for a little bit. It's enough people, there's enough groups that form that people can occupy themselves during downtime. And it doesn't lose the intimate nature of what we've built. And I think if we, I'll get to the videos in just a second. I'm going to put you up there so I don't forget. But I think we would lose the intimate nature if we went up over 100. Hey, Charlie, I've seen him in the background there. Hey, buddy. Come say hello. There he is. You can't really see him. He doesn't want to be on the camera. Anyway, that's my buddy. All right. So we'd lose that intimate nature, I think, if we went up to like 150, 200 people. So I don't say this to get you guys to come to enrich myself. And, you know, if I had to market harder to sell tickets, I would, but I don't. I sell out every one of these we do. So when I say if you can get to one, it's because I love that so many people come back. There's people that have been to, I've been doing them since 2013. And there's people that have been to like all but one of them. And in the beginning, the first year or two, we would do 3 or 4 a year. Now we did 2 this year, but we're going back to 1 a year. And they've been to almost all of them. There's people that have been to 12. They just keep coming back. And it's because there's something special about it. It's about being around people that make sense to you. And, I mean, on Sundays, we reach a point, 10:30, and this means you, all of you, go, leave. You got to go. Like Dorothy and I have to put our life back together and get back to daily living, and we need to take a nap because it's exhausting to do one of these things for a week, you know, half a week. And people don't want to leave. People don't want to leave, and it's real obvious why people don't want to leave. They don't want to leave behind the people that they've met, that they've seen again. I've even heard people say things like, TSP events are where I go to see all my friends. And that's one of the most humbling things that I have in my life. The fact that people have taken our community and built it such that when I open my home for that period of time, the people come not to see me, they come to see everybody. They come to see their friends. And I would really love as many of y'all to be here as possible. I also do want to make it more accessible, but I can't up the body count. So Emily's question here. I have some videos from past ones that we've videoed, and I just have never gotten them uploaded. The files that come off the camera are freaking huge, and it's like another thing to do, and it's one of those things I need to hand off and have somebody do for me. But we have a solution this year. I talked to Hatch, who does our AV stuff for us, yesterday by text. And one way or another, we're going to do this for the workshop this year. We're going to stream the presentations. Now, we're not going to stream Nick Ferguson walking people through my food forest. We're not going to stream me explaining the hydroponics and aquatic systems. It's too much. But all of the classroom type stuff, we're going to hook a camera up to a laptop. We're going to pull up StreamYard, and boom, it goes to YouTube. And, you know, we might as well stream the Flote and Odysee, even though we didn't do that today. And we'll get that set up to where we can not just stream the presentations. Like, we'll have it set up somewhere, maybe just with this little camera like this. And like, I'm sure other people know, but Nicole knows how to run StreamYard, etc., where we can just maybe have 5 people that are hanging out and talking and chatting, and we can stream that. When we do karaoke, we can stream that. Like, I think what people don't realize about these workshops, they're not like, it's not editing, dude. It's just it's literally just uploading. It's just a pain in the ass. We can make you see what happens here, or we can let you see what really happens here, because the academics, as far as learning how to do things and what have you, are limited. Right. I mean, we do a lot. I mean, to come to a workshop like this and realize that you get, and not everybody sits through every presentation, but it's generally over 3 days. It's 15 sessions of different things. But there is a fundamental reality of the human mind that you're not going to come here and listen to me talk about, I might do one on cryptocurrency this year and remember everything that I teach you. And then have, 15-minute break between my session and the next session, have an herbalist come up and talk about, 20 herbs that you can grow on your property and how to use them for your health. And then 15 minutes after that person's done, we have lunch. And then right after lunch, Nick Ferguson gets up and talks about fodder trees. And then 15 minutes after that, Nicole gets up and talks about building community instead of building a community, or whatever Nicole's going to talk about this year. And you're going to remember all that shit times 5, right? That's not going to happen. These sessions really are about exposing you to ideas, and then you pick the ones that you want to integrate into your life over the next year, and you learn more. And being able to then like really identify with one presenter and realize there are no presenters. I've had one in all the years we've done this that did what I call show up and throw up. They come give their presentation and then they leave. Do you know what happens to a presenter that comes to my workshop, presents, and leaves? I'm glad you left, because guess what you're not doing? You're not coming back. And that's why, like last year, I had Ken Berry here, and people wonder, like, why'd you give Ken Berry one session? I'd never met Ken Berry in person before. Ken Berry's a big name. I didn't know what I was getting. I didn't know if Ken would be the guy I see on YouTube every day. He was. That's why he gets 2 sessions this year. Ken hung out. And so when you have presenters and you identify with that presenter, I want that presenter approachable. I want somebody that if it's Ken Berry who preaches diet and exercise every damn day of his life, I want a guy that's 150 pounds overweight to be able to walk up to him and talk to him and let Ken Berry rip his ass and motivate him and say, listen, you're going to fucking kill yourself if you don't change your life. I can tell you what to do, but I can't do it for you. I want that to happen. I want somebody to be like, holy crap, I didn't realize it was that easy to do this thing, whatever it is, and go up to that presenter and they'll say, let me walk you through it. I want a presenter that's a Ken Berry, and I want a presenter that's a Jake Robinson. And I want a presenter that everybody knows Jake because we shoot him with airsoft guns and pick on him all the time. I want presenters you never, ever, ever, ever heard of before and may never, ever again. And so he loves you, come back here. I love the fact that we had a presenter last year come in and say, this is exactly how we built a dome home. And he's a guy that, if you come here, you know exactly who I'm talking about. And if you don't come here, you have if I told you who it was, he and his wife, you'd have no idea who the hell I was talking about unless you're in our Telegram or something like that and have talked to him there. And the fact that everybody can go talk to anybody. There's no freaking hierarchy here other than we do have some rules, and if you don't obey the rules, you get in trouble. And the person you generally get in trouble with is Nicole or Nick Ferguson. Because I've learned, like, I can't be the enforcer of the rules. I'm just the source of them. There's certain rules. I'll tell you one rule this year. There's a 2-inch thick steel door on my shop building. And if you close that door, yeah, it is Tim Hatch. Hatch is here. Everybody meet the face. Hatch is somebody you probably don't know unless you come here, right? But there's a 2-inch thick steel door. I'm going to have that thing where it's very difficult to undo and close during our live streaming. But if you try to close that door, we have unique methods of punishment around here. Right? Except for that one time. Yep, except for that one time. But what's our unique method of anybody that comes here, what is our unique method of punishment? How did we cure Jake of interrupting presenters? You guys know how we cured Jake, don't you? Airsoft. Those things hurt. So we have, for those who don't know Jake, we have a gentleman, I really love him. That's why I worked to figure out a way to fix the problem that constantly interrupted presenters. And so we had one year where we said, if you interrupt a presenter, you get shot with an airsoft gun. And he did really great. He's been great ever since. We still pick on him, but really should. But if you try to close that door during a live stream, you're getting shot in the ass with an airsoft gun. I have one guy that gets a Springer airsoft pistol, and I'm going to auction the other two off for cryptocurrency. Whoever bids the highest gets to be an enforcer. Paintball would be cool, but then it makes a mess on the side of my walls and stuff. But you can bring your own, but you can't be an enforcer unless you pay me. It's backwards of being deputized, where you get paid to be a deputy. You got to pay me to be allowed to be a deputy. Don't get too free. If anybody's like, oh shit, I'm not going there. No. Let's see. I've been shot. Jake's been shot a couple times. I think we shot Patrick once. That's it. Shooting people's very rare. We won't have any playing with the electric fence this year. Nicole got to experience the electric fence because David is David's an interesting guy. You guys will, if you've never met David, you'll get to meet David this year. He will be here this year. It's just fun. And I don't really, I really, it wasn't. She got it right in the finger too. She's, you know what, Nicole's great, guys. If you can't see what, I got her comment up. It says it wasn't that bad. It was about being electrocuted. So I had an electric fence for a while because we had a fox problem. And I said during the workshop, we're just going to turn it off. And David's like, well, I'm going to turn it back on. And my wife was like, you can't do that. And David was like, Dorothy, I asked for so little. And so I made a deal with him. I said, you can't turn it on the night that people get here on Wednesday to just hang out, drink beer. And you can't do it until they get the safety briefing. But you can do it after the safety briefing. And during the safety briefing, I had some Christmas lights up on the outside of the duck house. And I had a thing that cut all the power off, a kill switch. And all you do is flip that switch on and power came back on, the fence, everything came back on. So I said at the safety briefing, you should assume the fence is on at all times. But if you see those lights on, then you know the fence is on. So David, being the bastard that he is, and again, he's my best friend, so when I say that, don't take it wrong. Not only did he turn off on the electric fence, he unplugged the Christmas lights. And I think he got 6 people in about 15 minutes going from one side of the property to the other. And there was a little bitty hook that goes into a hook eye that locks the fence. And the wire went right down through there. So when you stuck your finger in to flip that up, your finger was touching the ground that was the fence and the hot wire that far apart, about the length of an average finger. And I have about 60 linear foot of fence. I had 2 coils around it. And I had a 25-mile charger on it to make sure the fox really got it. And Nicole's pretty tough to say it wasn't that bad. Now, there was a guy, I said there's been one presenter that didn't get invited back. There's been one guest that never got to come back. And he was, we'll just leave it, those of you who know that year who he was. He was a creep. And he got electrocuted. And Nicole said if he got it, it was worth it just to know that he got it too. It was pretty cool. But you really should come. You won't get electrocuted this year. The fence has been decommissioned. I'm sure some practical joking and stuff will go on. I have banned, what the hell's that bottle called that Jake used to bring? I had to ban that. Wang bottle. So Jake came up with this thing. They basically put lighter fluid in a 5-gallon glass car boy and light it. And it makes this giant flame come out of it, and it was okay. It was amusing, and it was pretty harmless. Something that most people would confine to like a college dorm room, not like a 60-year-old man running around with one in the back of his car. But then it wasn't good enough, so they started putting propane in it and cooling the bottle down in my ponds. And one guy almost got his face blown off. They filled up a balloon with it, and then they cracked it and left it here. So I had to banish Wang bottles, no more Wang bottles. So we try not to get anybody hurt. We've had 2 significant injuries in 8 years. One was a guy that cut his own thumb near in half with one of Patrick's knives because he didn't read the instructions on how to open it. And the other was my buddy Neil, who doesn't count because he wasn't a staff and he wasn't a student. Many of y'all remember Neil at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to teach martial arts and getting his hand cut open on the garage door. Otherwise, we should be pretty good to go. Does anybody want to come on and chat? Want to come into the StreamYard room? Nicole, are you suitable to do that right now, or are you outside playing with your phone? Anybody else? If anybody wants to come join me, I'm going to drop a link. Let's try not to abuse it. But if you click that link, you'll show up, and if I know who you are or you look trustworthy enough, I'll bring you on board. Rob, you can come on. I'm just grooving to the Temptations, man. We're just waiting on Nicole. Any day now. Yeah, John, so this is the funny thing. He wasn't doing training with a knife. He was doing training with a gun. And so this is the funny thing. He wasn't doing training with a knife. Oh, now I'm getting reverb. He was doing training with a gun. And is that you causing it?
No. Hold on.
Oh, now I'm getting reverb. It's Nicole.
Let me turn it off on my computer.
I'm going to mute you until you get it figured out. You're muted until you're ready. Oh, Les is here. We'll bring Les in.
Hi, Jack. Hi, Nicole.
Hey, man.
I had this idea. I've been trying to come up with time to talk to both of you about. Maybe this is just the perfect time. I don't know. There's more people coming, but all those times you've been talking about virtual and last year when COVID hit and you were kind of tired of what big tech was doing. Like I know you are heavy on Amazon. I kind of know Nicole's position on Amazon. I don't think she's doing much business with them. We're unfortunately still dependent on them pretty heavy though. Etsy's been doing really well, and we've scaled back from Amazon a little bit because of that Etsy. But long story short, all those times you've been talking about freedom and independence and trying to make people more self-governing. I'm not talking about starting another like a huge thing, virtual nation. I'm thinking more of virtual tribe, TSP virtual tribe. And I think you have enough momentum, Jack, and you have enough connections with smart people that could actually pull this off. I know you have the TSPC, which is, in my opinion, it's a great idea because it puts a stamp of approval for people, the things that they can use in their life.
Yeah. Just cutting to the chase. Are you trying to get to a place where we have a marketplace?
Yeah. But not only marketplace, but also a place for everybody of this mindset to be involved in and be able to support.
How long were you here? Were you here when I was talking about the church, or did you come in later?
Yeah, no. I've been there since I was working. So
I'm talking about today on the stream. So yeah, we talked about a church that we founded that's really just a common belief system.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm going to do anything that's a marketplace that I drive people to do business with each other, I'm going to do it there. I don't really want to take a piece of that, because every time you start taking a piece, you end up in the point where you end up with control and the ability to manipulate. And what I want to do is create common idealism where people just do business with people they want to do business with.
Okay. Kind of
And so-
like you had a directory, business directory.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people that have quality stuff. Like what you
Would y'all think there was coffee in there?
I can't smell it.
I know better.
Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Les.
I think there's a lot of people that have quality stuff.
Yeah.
Right now, your solution to that is TSPAD. You know, you find something and you use it and you recommend it, so people go. And I understand that also brings you some money.
Well, let me explain something about that though. Why it actually works, right? So, if I am dealing with an individual, like I know you and I know the cutting boards you make and all, so that would be easy. But if I'm dealing with something where I have dozens of suppliers, and they're all using my name, then I have to get involved, because when Nicole orders something from Buddy, right, and Buddy screws Nicole over, all of a sudden Jack's responsible for all the ill that I can come up with about Amazon. And there's like, I could write a freaking old school 1980s Metropolitan phone book for things I hate about Amazon. As an entrepreneur, if I say, hey, go get this really cool French press here, and not only is it a great French press, it's double walled insulated, so it keeps your Bloody Mary ice, good. And the person that orders it doesn't get it or gets a bad one or something, I literally don't have to do anything except say, get with Amazon customer service, and they're either going to get their money back or new product. So the reason I do Amazon as an entrepreneur as far as a referral is because I don't have to worry. Like if I tell you to buy an iPhone case, like you're going to get your iPhone case. And if you don't, there's remedy I don't have to get involved with. So whatever I do, I don't want to get involved with it to where I'm endorsing anything wholesale as a marketplace. I'll endorse you right at anybody here that wants to get like one of the most listen to me right now. You want one of the most badass cutting boards you'll ever get your hands on. You want something off the shelf or custom done. Get with this man right here. What's your website? I know it's Kobe Blocks, but is that the website? What's the?
We changed it to Tennessee Butcher Blocks.
Okay, Tennessee Butcher Blocks.
All the change and stuff, but the idea still stay the same. We don't mass produce. We make quality, and if anybody has a problem, when they call, they either get cookie on me, and I remedy it.
See, but I can do that with you. I can't scale this, not without making it a full-time business. That's why I don't want to do it that way. But if we do it in it is kind of tribal, right? But tribes are many, right? Instead of umbrella tribe, you have like this umbrella idealism, and then a tribe within it. I do want to give other people a chance to talk. Good to hear from you, but drop your link in the chat. And I mean, like I said, it's easy. If I know you, like I have like, I don't even remember what you charged me for it, but it was expensive, but it was worth it. You're probably the only person who would have made it for me, but I have a custom made, like if it was metal instead of wood and I put it in your hands, you'd sink to the bottom of the ocean. It's so damn big. Outdoor cutting board that I had Les make for me, and I wouldn't have went anywhere else for it. So like I can do that, but how many entrepreneurs can I take the time to know the way that I know you?
Maybe there's another way of doing it. Maybe the tribe could put the stuff.
I have an idea. You should do it.
Les just volunteered to do the marketplace for the church.
Yeah.
Actually, the cool thing about the church model is you could end up kind of with tribal pods.
Yep.
Where people are vetting within these. And if you trust that community of entrepreneurs, then everything there is good.
Did you get inside yet?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just on my phone last night. I haven't played much, but yeah.
The site is a full, complete, 100% social media site inside. It's a private social media site. You can create groups. You can form connections. You can showcase your talents. You can put up projects. Your profile can literally be your business card. It's like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook in one. And it all works right now, and it's all free. And I encourage everybody that has an idea, get in there and start building. And understand, our numbers are small for now. But you know what? Everybody looks at a platform that gets big and says, well, look at this person with 20,000 or whatever. They're the ones that get in there and build it, man. So like, I don't want to cut you off, but like, I'm not doing this right now. Like, this is something people are going to have to do.
And in a way, I kind of got excited that Flote might be an outlet for that.
It probably will be.
You know,
it probably will be. I got a personal call from Kingsley about 2 weeks ago, and there's some things I won't even say yet publicly that I was trusted with, but it's exciting what they're doing.
Because there was another project, it was called Open Bazaar, but I don't think they ever went anywhere. But it was based with crypto payments.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in that, and I know Amazon. I don't want Amazon's control over things. I don't want
I got you.
control over my business as well, because it's horrible. If you were on the business side, people will order. That's a quick example. People can order my board, and when it gets there, they'll say, "This is not what I ordered." Amazon gives them, without my control, return shipping. They'll ship the empty box, and I have no recourse. I lose everything, and I have to pay for that shipping as well. So it's really, they have all control, and they kind of there's some dishonest people that will take advantage of it. We mark that into our cost.
Yep.
We will get screwed, So
yeah. But we're not gonna fix that today. But
No,
that's what we're doing. We're just trying to do it where I'm not in charge. I'm gonna bounce you because I've given you a lot of time. I don't mean to be rude or nothing, but hi.
Bye bye.
I want to give Nicole a minute before we got Mark and Buddy hanging too.
Oh, good.
Nicole,
yeah.
When you jumped on before we got on that, we were going to talk, I guess, about like why people should come in the fall here.
I think the number one reason you should come are the relationships you'll make. Basically, nothing else matters. If you're an introvert, you'll enjoy it. If you're an extrovert, you'll enjoy it. I see a lot of people who are anxious about being around people, and this is just different because it's people who you don't have to be guarded around. You can just talk, and if you have a different opinion, you do. It's not a big pile-on judgy situation. But
Zero.
The quality of people, what I love, because you were talking about presentations, anybody in that room knows enough about something that they could give a very good presentation about that topic, which is why it's so cool. You'll see people you've seen there year after year after year suddenly hop up and they're presenting, and you're like, man, I didn't know that guy did that, or whatever. And that is why it's important. It's those side conversations. Yeah,
I wanted to kind of add to that. Now that you say that, we're doing this year what we did last year, where every day there's an hour at the end of the day before dinner, wide open, anybody present anything. And if we get somebody that wants to do something that warrants like the whole room, then we'll do that, right? Like, right. But if most of the presentations will be like, last year, you and I, we did a discussion on crypto sitting right where I am now, like we're out on the porch or whatever. Chef Michael ended up beating the shit out of some meat on the griddle. So maybe that wasn't the best location, but like little groups can get together anywhere and discuss anything. We put up a great big whiteboard, and if you want to present something, and then tell them about, kind of our show and tell thing that we do too. Which the tell your story in 5 minutes? Or? Yeah. So one of the things that's important, or a goal of the workshop, because we are an intimate group of people, is new people and repeat comers get to know each other. And so we have a segment where you can sign up. You don't have to tell your story in 5 minutes. Most people take about 2. And you say how you got there and what you're looking for from the group and what you might want help with and what you can help other people with. And that makes you, I'm going to go talk to Tim about aquaponics, or I'm going to go talk to Sue about herbalism, or I'm going to go talk to Tactical about, I don't know, how to tie my shoe. Whatever it is. Sorry, Tactical. Poor Tactical.
He's over there like, Anyway, so that's really great. Those breakout sessions were fantastic because you'd have 4 or 5 things going on. John Bush would be giving people a taste of kratom. We had John Pugliano do the molding of bullets.
Well, right? And the ham radio stuff that time.
Ham
too.
radio, that was cool. And it's just a way to learn new things or to showcase something that you may not have even thought you were interested. What I think is cool is you can go do something that you never thought you'd want to know, and then you'll find out, wow, maybe I do kind of want to know. Maybe I do want to know how to make butter or whatever it is.
You know, and the other thing is I notice a lot of people, they form relationships that just continue.
Yeah.
Like we have 2 people right now that are running a farm together down near Austin that they met here. They didn't know each other from Adam before they came here. And that was like 6 years ago. They just built like a commercial slaughter kitchen and all kinds of stuff they've been doing because one had time and one had money.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but
No, but every event I go to, something like that happens, whether it's yours or another one of people who are doers and not takers, which is what our communities are, people who do stuff. I saw a couple who live in New Jersey and make good money there who want a bug out location. They met a veteran at Polyface Farm who is looking for land to take care of for somebody because he doesn't have the money to get the land, but he's looking for somebody who wants a bug out location. Boom, relationship.
Absolutely.
And they trust each other because they just, spent however many days together doing things.
Absolutely. Let's bring Mark on, see what Mark wants to talk about.
Sounds good.
I'm going to set a rule, though, since there are people asking to come in. We're going to give people like 5, and then we're going to throw you out.
No problem.
Hi, Mark.
That's fine. I've been working on stuff as well. Well, I was going to discuss something, but I thought I'd hold off on that for a later topic, but I'll plant a bug in your ear. It's about Tether kind of being exposed. I'm not sure if you're familiar with CoffeeZilla, but I would check that out. What Nicole's saying, I love the fact that entrepreneurs are kind of organizing and assembling right now, especially with the vaccine mandates and everything, but I don't want to get too caught up on the vaccines. I think the outlook for entrepreneurship as a whole in this country and really around the world is going to be huge. And it's already proven to be big over the last 3 to 5 years. And I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I'm a managed services provider. I'm an IT, so to speak. I work for older people and help them get secure and private on their machines and then manage their networks. So what's your outlook? I mean, I know a lot of the legislation and they're making it harder and harder to run your own thing, but I think crypto is going to play into that very heavily. And I'm hoping the situation with Tether gets straightened out, but that's something to kind of reference.
I can't think of very many. I can't think of anywhere, even with a very strict government that tries to control people, where entrepreneurs don't figure out a way.
Yeah.
Whether it's black market or gray market or above board to be entrepreneurs. It's just a different set of challenges. So that's my outlook. What's yours, Jack?
Well, I mean, first of all, the thing with Tether, like, I don't worry about things that have redundancies. So, like, there's like 400 freaking stable coins now. So, like, if Tether takes it in the shorts at some point, hopefully you're not holding it. I mean, I guess I worry less about stable coins than other people do, because the only way I use a stable coin is like yesterday I used one. And I used it for about 3 hours. So Algo was taking a big run, so I sold some Algo. I took like 70% of my Algo, and I put this in. By the way, our crypto group, you guys, if you're here listening to this and you want to know more about crypto, get in our MeWe crypto group, because I give inside shit there that I don't do anywhere else. I did this publicly yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? Whatever it was. Like, Algo took a big run up. I sold 70% of my Algo. I put in a buy order, and I held Tether for as long as it took for that buy order to go through, and then my Algo's back in my Algo wallet, right? So I made like $400 in like 3 hours. I don't do that a lot. And if I was a high frequency trader, maybe I'd care more. I don't really worry about the stablecoin issue. Like somebody's going to have a stablecoin that works, right? Like that at any time that's going to happen. As far as crypto empowering the entrepreneur, I think it's like it's a tool, and it's how you use it, and it does fix the problem, but it doesn't fix the problem if you don't use the tool right. So if you've ever been to like a fair or something like that, and there's a guy like, I have this tool. Look, it cuts glass, it cuts tile and shit. Like, and he takes this piece of tile and he cuts like an S curve in it, and boom, he breaks it, and it's a perfect break. That guy spent like the last 6 months of his life getting ready to go bark at that carnival, and he's mastered that tool. So you buy it and you take it home, and like 2 minutes later, you're like, fuck this thing. Like you call a tile guy to come do your tile work, right? And I think that's a lot how crypto works. Like how you integrate it into your business is more important than it's there. And I personally think, like, and this is why I call myself a Bitcoin maximalist light. I think Bitcoin is the money of the future. I'm not saying it's the payment method of the future. I'm not saying it's the technology of the future. I'm saying it's the money. And all of this stuff is going to center on this core that is the value of Bitcoin. And then we have no, God, I'm going to eat that rooster. I swear to God, no matter how little he is.
They're perfectly fine. They don't bother me at all. It feels like home.
Probably louder here than it is for y'all.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that we're gonna have new technologies constantly develop, and I think that this is one of those things like the genie, like a dove breast, dude. I'll pull it right out. Like we're gonna have new technology continuously develop, and I think we're at a point where, like Nicole's point is totally valid, that the more they do, the more powerful we become. Yeah. Like because we're not. And I don't think we are all agorists. And agorist doesn't mean black market. Agorist means I will use the fucking black market if you make me. If you don't make me, I'm happy to do commerce wide out in the open, right?
Yeah, I would prefer
the agorist becomes more profitable the more regulations the state imposes because of all the sheep that go, bah, I will comply with everything. Because then you get these, like it is, like, remember the guy at Porch, unfortunately the guy got killed in Manhattan selling loose cigarettes on the street.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, right? But
that was screwed up.
It was awful, but then the real lesson in it is, why was he able to do that? Why, like, if you went downtown Fort Worth, right, with a pack of Marlboros and a pack of Newports and said, hey, man, I got loose cigarettes, everybody that walked by you, including smokers, would be like, get the fuck away from me. If I want cigarettes, I'll go to the store and buy them. He was able to do that because New York City had imposed like the highest tax on tobacco on the planet. So he could go to a state like, of all places, New Jersey, and buy cigarettes and be cheaper than Manhattan, right? So the government
use it to your benefit.
The government created the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
If you completely legalize narcotics tomorrow, you can go to Eckerd Drugs and buy good, clean meth. I don't think you should, but if you did that, every meth dealer in Tennessee making it out of batteries in a Gatorade bottle is out of business, right? Yeah. So, like, the more they do, the more opportunity they create. Like, nobody would be printing fucking guns if there wasn't gun control. Like, you don't actually save money by 3D printing a gun. Mm-hmm. But having the ability to 3D print a gun means that you will never take away my gun. Because if you take away all my guns, I'll make another one. And fuck you, right? Like, so the smartest thing, like if you look historically, the times that governments had the highest tax revenue and the government itself has thrived the most is when regulation was the least.
Right.
And that's when the greatest amount of like cutthroat competition comes in because we're all on a level playing field. Mm-hmm. Where if you start imposing regulation, the person that can either comply, like, so the big companies comply and they use that as their weapon. The little companies get squashed, but the smart companies figure out ways around it, through it, or ignore it, right? Or they build loss into it. Like Les was saying earlier, he builds the Amazon loss into his price. That's kind of the same thing. Like the guys that were doing the gypsy taxis in New York before Uber and all that, they just said, well, a taxi medallion is $1.5 million. So they're gonna find me $100,000 for operating an illegal cab. Well, I got to get caught 12 times before I'm sane, right? So they just built loss into their model. So I think that, like, I'm not even concerned. It's not that I'm not concerned at like individual things, but at the macro level, will entrepreneurs succeed? And will we use crypto to do it? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I have faith, and I definitely think we will.
If OSHA is successful in the 100 employee jab thing, how many people who have 99 employees are going to have a great employee pool for contracting work?
How many people are going to be Nicole's giant coffee corporation with 200 employees and go, we're now Nicole's Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3 under three different corporations?
Also that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show you to have an awareness. Entrepreneurs, one of the great things about us, and I'll leave with this, is our ability to do critical thinking and problem solving. And when you have that, and you keep your nose and your ear to the ground and your nose to the grindstone, and you work hard and you build up these relationships, then when you find something creative, you've already got a pool of people to adopt it. And it's a natural flow. But
cool, man.
Yeah, I think critical thinking and problem solving is a skill that's sorely lacking in the country, and people need to gain those back. People need to learn new things, challenge yourself daily, and you'll be happier, you'll be healthier for it. But thanks for your channel. I appreciate all the work.
I'm going to ring the cowbell and bring our next guy on. I'm going to bring Buddy on now.
All right.
But before I let him talk too much, I'm going to make sure that we talk about something here that Hatch brought up with the workshop, because Buddy actually is going to be seeing me soon because of this thing, barter blanket.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole, you want to tell people about barter blanket, and then Buddy, you can tell them why you're going to be coming to hang out with me.
Well, first of all, what happens on the barter blanket stays on the barter blanket. It's like Las Vegas. So we get together around a campfire and we offer something for trade on the barter blanket, and then everybody around the campfire can offer up something to barter for that. The key to success on the barter blanket is you got to tell a good story that makes me want the item on the barter blanket. Sometimes the stories might stretch the truth a little bit, maybe a little bit, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to practice your ability to sell things, first of all, because if you're going to sell, you need to be able to tell the story of whatever it is you're selling. And it's a great way to be entertained, and you get some cool stuff too. Like, Buddy, what'd you get? If you're allowed to talk about it.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, Jack did an offer of, he's like, offer me something, and you could do a fishing trip with Jack, and at first I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I've always wanted to do a fishing trip, and because I'm terrible at fishing and I need some help with it. And so, but then he was like, and I was like, but like, I don't know about that. And then he was like, this is also an opportunity for like a 4-hour consulting, because you can chase me around the boat for 4 hours because I can't go anywhere.
Nowhere for me to go.
Right. And so I was like, like I'm not going to bug him for 4 hours about stuff, but just to get to, maybe an hour of his time, is probably worth it. And so I offered him some Bitcoin, and it had just taken a dip, and he was like, that's worth it right there, because it was in a trough, and it was about to make a jump the next day or two. And so he's like, some easy money. And I was like, I've been buying since Bitcoin is $900. I wish I had listened to myself when 2011, when I said I need to figure this out. Got it installed, couldn't figure it out, and ignored it until 2017. So that was the thing that I got on the barter blanket, and COVID happened last year, and so I wasn't sure on everything, so I waited till this year, and we're getting it hooked up and gonna go later this month. So
yep,
excited.
Yep, we're gonna go out, and we're not going fishing, we're going catching, because we're going with
yes.
I've gone catching with Jack.
Anyway, I didn't mean to sidetrack your thing. So what did you want to talk about when you jumped in the room there?
Yeah, no worries. I'll talk to you about a lot more stuff on when we go fishing, or go catching. But the one thing I had really, really quick is something I'm kind of thinking on is So I finally bought a 3D printer. It's been on my list of things to buy for a while, and I got it set up in the last couple of weeks. And the first two things that I'm going to make is I have a 15-inch planer I bought refurbished, and the plastic that holds the electronics in there is just disintegrating, and it's just broken to crap. And this is a 20-year-old 3D printer, or 20-year-old planer. And so I'm going to build and 3D print a new thing for it, since that part is discontinued. I figure there was a market, because on YouTube I see people trying to restore these all the time. Anyway, and then I'm also going to make a couple different styles of tool holders to wall mount. And I was like, and I like to sell these on my site. I mean, first and foremost, this is going on my website, my DIY website. But I was like, is it worth trying to sell on Etsy and taking some of the, more as it's a platform that exists, and, it's a way to bring in some people, because I don't get a lot of traffic. I don't have a lot of listeners to my podcast. Like, it's all still growing. And so I'm like, is it worth going to areas that, would have people, even though they get that cut, or should I try to up my SEO game and really try to get that, same thing with eBay. And I was just like, I'm in a debate with myself and my brain on that. So I just wanted somebody else's opinion.
I'm going to let Nicole beat you up, and then I'll beat you up.
All right.
You know what I'm going to say, buddy?
Yes.
What is the barrier to entry on selling your shit on eBay or Etsy?
I have no idea.
It's really flippin' easy. You set up your account, and you put it up there, and you price it high enough that you're not asking yourself about sharing revenue with them. You go for it, and you see. Because if you do a paralysis by analysis, you're selling nothing.
Right.
So I say go out and sell, and where you see your effort making the best inroads, do that. Also, don't become overly dependent on one of those platforms.
Right.
We heard from the guy who has too much Amazon business right now. You don't want to be in that position where you're stuck, but that's just a sales channel. Just use it. Use it to your advantage.
Gotcha. It's kind of where I was leading.
Go make money.
And one thing I was going to
fuck that. Don't wait. Do it. Like you
like
should
by Monday. I want to see a link from you.
Yeah, like here's my shit on eBay.
I got to design
and build. They're fucking making excuses right now. Bullshit. You can set a fucking off while we drink. We're already successful. We're allowed to drink. You should be putting your shit on eBay right now.
I got to finish designing the piece first and printing.
Well,
I'm going to do a confession, though, because it also might get us a presenter for the fall workshop. So last year, right about the time of the workshop, because he said he was fucking coming here and he didn't, I bought a 3D printer from Sal Mayweather, bastard. And it's still sitting in the box in my shop. And I had a guy that year do a presentation on 3D printing named Bruce. He said we could even set yours up. And then he started to explain to me it had to be in a place where it wouldn't be touched and it wouldn't move. And he was bringing 3 of his own, and he needed a place to set up 3 of his own that wouldn't be touched, it wouldn't move. So when they were printing, they wouldn't get jacked up. So I was like, well, that's not going to fucking happen in there. Like, there's no way anything in there is going to exist for 3 days and not get touched or moved. So since Patrick wasn't doing a knife workshop, I gave him Patrick's workshop, and I didn't have him set mine up. I'm like, 3 of your own, that's enough. So I get on people about procrastinating, but I've had a 3D printer in a box for a year. So if somebody wants to do how you set up a 3D printer and make it run the first time, email me at jackatthesurvivalpodcast.com with TSPC workshop in the subject line. And I would gladly allow you the privilege of setting up my 3D printer for me and printing even a hose nozzle or something. And I'll also say, like, you should do this. I'm just kind of messing with you when we say we're beating you up here, because I have a 3D printer sitting out there, and I just reorganized my shop and put up this great big board behind this bench that I built, and I hung up all my power tools and shit. And I'm like, what am I going to do with all my damn DeWalt batteries? And I went on Amazon, and there's a guy selling a little strip, and you bolt it up on the wall, and it holds 6 DeWalt batteries. So I bought one for $25. He probably has $4 of filament in that,
Mhm.
that could have been you. You could have had my $25, but you were worried about whether or not you should do it or not. So he has my $25 or $21 in profit or whatever. And if Amazon took 4 of it, who cares? He has 16 Jack dollars, and Buddy has a trip with Jack, which is probably worth more, but you don't have my 16 Jack dollars. You could have my 16 Jack dollars. You probably could have sold something to Nicole by now. And do these channels work?
You could sell Nicole a design if you just emailed her, because she has something and does not want to mess with figuring out how to make her own design.
Absolutely. Here's how well does this work? So years ago, I did a show about growing comfrey, how great comfrey was. And if I was going to grow, start a business on plants, I would start with comfrey. Because this guy, Coase Comfrey, this redneck that lives in the Carolinas, wherever he's at, don't even know how to use email, he's always sold out. And there's never enough comfrey available. So I would put this one little garden bed in, and I would grow nothing in it but comfrey. And I'd cut the comfrey in little bitty pieces. And I would sell that comfrey, and then I would use that to grow out my business. And then I was like, but you didn't do that, stupid, so you don't have it. And I needed some comfrey. So I went on eBay to see who had comfrey. And I found this place called Marks Creek Farmstead. And I'm like, this guy's selling little pieces of comfrey cheap. So I bought like 50 pieces of comfrey from this dude. And I get this email back, holy fuck, you're Jack Spirko. You're the whole reason I even have a fucking business in the first place on eBay. I listened to that show, and then I did that, and I put in a couple boxes, and I grow all this comfrey. And can I do a discount for your members? And I'm like, sure. I ordered shit. It showed up. It was there. It was what you promised. You didn't fuck it up. So, yeah. So now he has a business selling plants, including comfrey. And even though he came out of our community, had he not put it on eBay, I wouldn't have found him. I wouldn't have bought it from him. He wouldn't have said, holy fuck, you're Jack Spirko. Like, so the fact that he just went ahead and said, fuck it, I'm going to put it on eBay is how he even connected with me in the first place. And you're sitting there looking at your microphone wondering whether or not you should put your shit on Etsy. Right? And odds are, like one of the things I didn't say when we were talking about like why you should come here, other than John Pugliano, you will not see anybody here in a dress shirt. You will see a bunch of redneck, like Buddy looks like he got ready to go to Capitol Grill and have a steak right now, the way he's dressed compared to some of the people you'll see here. And I won't tell you who they are because I don't want to create a hunting environment. But you'll sit out there in that shop with 80 people, and 20 of them will be millionaires. Yeah. And you won't know who they are. They'll all look like him. Now, the person that buys your shit that you met here but didn't really pay attention to you might be that fucking person. You just don't know. Or another person like them that never came here. If there's a platform that you can sell your shit through, sell your shit. Jason says he'll set up my 3D printer. Well, you already have a deal, dude. You're already getting to do a presentation, so now you have to. So Jason spoke first, at least first one I saw. So Jason the B-Man is going to be setting up my printer. Hoorah. Anything else, buddy? Are you like? Did we beat on you?
Beat him into submission.
You're fine.
I was asking for help, asshole.
No, you're fine. I was like 90% there, but there's that little niggle in your head that you're like, should I try to do it a different way? Because it's like you don't want to support some of these companies that are ridiculous, but at the same time, it's like money.
You want to use them for the money, is what you want.
Exactly. And so,
I had somebody write me recently, tell me what a prick I am because I still sell through Amazon. And I said, you know what, dude, the day you'll write me a $60,000 check once a year, I'll stop fucking selling through Amazon. How about that? Right. So like, I'll take their money. If I stop selling through Amazon, they won't even know. Jeff Bezos won't put 1 ounce less fuel in his rocket to go to space. But I won't have that money to build my empire with. So I'll take the money and I'm not giving it back. I'm not going to be an Amazon stockholder. Right? I'll take that 60 grand a year and I will build my empire with it.
Yeah. And I will leave a nice little marketing piece inside of every package that drives you to my website next time.
Yes.
There you go.
So, yes. So, yeah. Okay. You confirmed what I was already thinking about doing, but when you're laying in bed at night and trying to go to sleep and you think of everything you shouldn't think about, you get lost.
Well, and should I or should I not sell this thing on this place that doesn't take any effort to do? should not be one of those things.
Right.
Any place that you can sell your shit, put it on there, see if it sells. If it sells, you have money. If it doesn't sell, you wasted 5 minutes setting it up.
Right.
You know, and put it on.
Once you do one of them, it's the same thing on every one, too.
Right.
And if Travis, who we're going to let on next, if he's still there, because I see a little fake person, if he sets up travis'swaytosellyourshit.com tomorrow, and you find it, and you say, Jack, should I put my shit on Travis's howyousellyourshit.com? The answer is yes. You should put it, especially if he doesn't want money. If he wants $50,000 for you to set up as a vendor, fuck Travis. If he's like, hey, set up your thing and sell your shit here, put it on there. And when you get an order, pay more attention to it. And if you don't get an order, screw Travis. He's a ripoff artist, but he didn't cost you any money.
Right.
You know? Yeah. What do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, 100% there. I got nothing extra to say.
Let's see if, before I kick Buddy off, let's see if Travis is here, because this is what I got.
There?
Travis!
You're a person in mute.
Travis!
Dude, there he is.
Now he's...
Fun. You can see my 3D printer right there.
Travis! Where are you?
Travis is dark today.
Oh. There he is. See, that's what a millionaire at TSP 2021 looks like, Travis, right there. That's like the guy's worth like 50 million. That's what he looks like.
Well, I will disagree with Jack. There is one guy that will have a button down, and that is John Pugliano.
Oh, I said John.
Yeah, he said
John.
I missed that.
Yeah. He wears ice cream man pants too. Travis, are you functioning? You look like you're. He looks like Xavier Hawks.
He's matrixing.
All right, I'm gonna jump off. It's good talking to you guys. See you later.
Take care.
Travis, you need to mute your YouTube.
He's not muted.
No, his YouTube is in the background though. I think.
I
That's what happened to me earlier. I had two things playing.
Travis.
He can smile, but he can't talk.
He can't talk.
I'm at work.
Oh.
I'm not that thrilled about anything.
Okay. This is not.
Yeah, try muting your video, and we'll see if the audio's there. If not, we may have to bounce you.
I'm going to kick you out, but you're welcome back. I'm going to repost the link.
Oh, there he is. Oh.
He's just not working. Try it now. See if we can hear you, even if we don't see you. Now you're muted. You muted your mute. I'm going to unmute your mic. Can't unmute your guest mic. Their mic isn't connected.
Oh.
All right. Travis, if you can hear us, I am banning you. No, don't ban. I didn't want to ban you.
Oops.
I'm going to kick you out of the studio, and you can get back in line, and maybe we had a bad connection or something. We can get back on. I see Les is here again, so I'm going to let Les back in. He must have something else to say. I'm going to unmute his mic. You muted yourself. There you are.
I muted myself. I was just listening to you guys.
I thought you got back in line.
Yeah, he's listening because he's not on the YouTube anymore, probably.
All right. You know what I'm going to do? Kick his ass out then. No, I can't kick him out. I'm just going to remove him.
Just remove him.
He doesn't have anything to
say. He's like, I'm making boards, man.
We've been rolling like 2 hours now. So, like, Nicole, I'm going to turn it over to you for a couple of minutes while I sit here and contemplate this beverage.
Okay.
Because you shouldn't drink mindlessly. That's wrong.
I know. You shouldn't drink mindlessly. My coffee's empty, which is a really sad state of the affairs.
Where's Tactical at?
Tactical, come here. He's working in the background. He's actually getting ready to go on a veteran hangout this afternoon around a campfire across the state. So what's really cool is out of the TSP community and a couple other communities, we have a whole little pod of veterans here organized around the Dark Horse Lodge, which is a retreat for combat vets. And every so often, the guys who are helping to build this and to promote it get together and hang out by the fire and make hamburgers. And that's the big plan for the weekend. I got to take care of the turkeys. Did you hear about the turkeys I got?
I did not.
Okay, so a friend of mine got sick, and he had 28 turkeys. And he got so sick he couldn't care for them. So he texted me and said, hey, Nicole, can you take some turkeys? And within 24 hours, there were 28 turkeys on my property. So now we have really dumb poultry.
Oh, they're so stupid.
They are really stupid. They
I
want.
love them, but they're so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my first time raising turkeys, but I've done chickens and ducks, so whatever. But they make the most amazing noises. I'll be out in the yard like, what the hell is that? Oh, it's the turkeys, right?
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, so what we're going to do on Saturday before Thanksgiving, we're going to have a turkey processing workshop. You go home with your Thanksgiving turkey and instructions on how to cook it. And that is life on a homestead. Just random stuff happens in our community here.
You know, I lost 2 ducks recently.
Really?
And I think today I had an epiphany.
Yeah.
As to how I lost them, because they were younger ducks, no damage to them, and like just stretched out dead ants eating them. And
Other
I'm like,
ducks?
what was that?
Was it other ducks?
No.
Oh.
I'm not sure on this, but I think I figured it out. So I have the 21-gallon tubs that I fill up with water for them to swim in.
Yeah.
And since I put in all these ponds, especially the new pond, the low one you helped build this spring, where you did all the crease work so you could learn and I didn't have to.
Yeah.
The toad population is ridiculous. I've got like, they're not the cane toads from Florida that kill everything, but they're like the regular, but I got big ones, little ones all over. And every morning when I go dump the tanks, there's a toad or 2 in the tanks. They get in, but they can't get out. I don't know how that works, but they're just in there like, all right, man, dump me out.
Yeah, like
occasionally one must get in early enough that it's in there long enough that it dies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and they're spread out like 3 months apart from these 2 ducks. The other day I dumped one out and the toad was dead and he was small. And I've seen ducks try to eat a toad before.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen a dog pick a toad up, a dog's like, nope. Nope.
Yep.
And like the second time they see a toad, they're like, nuh-uh, no. Ducks, apparently it doesn't have that reaction. But I've seen them like a duck like chewing on a toad and the toad puffs up and it's like, bitch, you're not getting me. And I'm thinking if they actually manage to swallow one,
the
bufo toxin in them, I think that's what killed 2 of my ducks this year.
Wow, that's a freakish duck illness right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a guess, but it's a pretty good guess, I think. But yeah, I miss my turkeys, man, because like, you know what beggar's lice are?
No.
Okay, it's some weird plant that grows it grows a thing on the end of it, looks like a star, and each one of them has a little tiny seed.
Oh yeah.
And they stick in like the hair. You don't have hair on your leg, but like if you're a dude, it sticks in the hair on your leg, sticks in your socks, sticks in your hair. Yeah, they suck. They're little, like the size of a rice. And when I had my turkeys and they would get in my socks, I would just call my turkeys over and they would literally pluck them off my socks perfectly. And now it was like having your own little tribe of mini velociraptors that would just follow you around.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to get some turkeys, but I don't think we're going to do I love the meat turkeys because you get this little poult and 6 months later you have like 50 pounds of meat.
Right.
But I think we're going to get like bourbon reds or something like that are self-propagating.
Yeah, that's a great idea. The more self-propagating you can do, the better.
And because they are cool. Like, they're cool and you like hanging out with them, but you don't get attached to them. You know what I mean? Like, you can get attached to a pig.
Yeah, I get it. My pigs I like. I do. I mean, like 3
so
of them are going to
good.
graduate, and I'll be like, I'm a little sad today because.
But I just won't look at you for a couple days. Like,
yeah.
But like, like a turkey, you're like, you're cool, but it's Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking like that would be a great bird to have around and what have you. Anyway, we're gonna bring Adam on now.
Hey, Adam.
Hey. Yeah, I was just gonna comment to Buddy there, and kind of echo the just start. I probably talked about selling on eBay for about 5 years before I ever took the leap. Did it a lot during college. But I spent 5 years telling everybody I knew, oh yeah, I could sell that on eBay. I could sell that on eBay. I'd never sold a thing in my life, but I could do it. And then one day somebody called me out on it. It's all right, I got to actually do this. But I was terrified. What if the post office screws up? What if shipping, what if I get a angry customer? What if analysis paralysis, So first thing I sold was some aquarium plants. And I sold it to a guy on a forum, and I laid out all my caveats. This is probably going to die. It's probably not even going to show up to you. You know, I'm not even going to charge you for it. You just pay the shipping. Because that's what I had to do to get it out of my head. I just had to do that first transaction, and it showed up, and it was fine. So then I put an ad on eBay, same plant. I knew how to ship it now. Put up quantity 10. I sold 10 of them. So okay, I can do this. Put up 3 or 4 different kinds of plants after that. It worked. And from there, I ended up going and doing the whole yard sale and thrift shops, and I got pretty good at I got an eye for weird stuff. I was selling odd forks and teacups and whatever crap I thought I could make $20 on. And I sold like $14,000 worth of stuff over the next 2 or 3 years. Didn't make a lot of profit, but I got the confidence that I could do it. Ended up dropping it when I got a big boy job and got a little busier in life. But it's always been there that now I know I could do it. If shit hit the fan, I got that I could go back to. I can scavenge junk and make money on it. So just do it. And even if you plan to lose, a couple $100 on the first one, it's education. Plan to lose money on that first product. Plan to spend way too much time on that first listing, because the first couple of them are a little intimidating. Those forms get pretty big, but just do it. And once you get that first one done, the next one takes half the time. And the next 10 after that take a quarter of the time. And before you know it, you're putting up, I was doing 50 listings in an evening. No big deal. You start batching stuff out, you get the economies of scale. It gets easier the more you do. So just start that first one.
Yeah, if you're committed to making it right, whatever you do, to living up to what you promise, even if it does lose you money, that is the attitude you need to have when you go in. Right? It's better not to lose the money, but sometimes stuff happens. Like sometimes the mail system messes up my orders. I just send out new orders.
Charlie,
and if insurance works to repay me, great. If not, I don't want to lose the long-term relationship with that customer. Right?
Yeah. Well, and that was the attitude I had to take to get myself started. And it turns out I almost never had a problem.
Yeah.
After a little time, I got the great thing about these platforms is the policies are all laid out and they're super clear. You learn the policy, you follow the rules, you're not going to have a problem.
And you know what? There's a lot of things like that, though, that are like somebody saying they can do a thing, and then someone calls them out, and then they do it, and then they end up like going, why the fuck didn't I do that earlier? So an example of this, it wasn't really a product, it was more of a content business. My nephew, his wife's pretty. She's a really pretty girl. And all these people with the Instagram models and stuff like that, he would tell all his buddies, in a couple of months, I could get 100,000 followers for my wife if she would do it. And they're like, yeah, bullshit, whatever. And finally, he took a bet with a guy. And all it was is I can get 100,000 followers for my wife on Instagram in like 90 days or whatever. So he did. And they just bought a $500,000 house. Their business is her Instagram model business.
Yep.
Because one of his buddies said, you're full of shit. And he's like, all right, fuck you. I'll prove this. And, there's people, Instagram model is a code for porn. No, it's not like that at all. She's basically kind of like a sports model or something. I mean, they do really sexy looking stuff, but it's nothing you wouldn't see, Cosmopolitan or Sports Illustrated or something like that, in like people say, well, look what she's doing. Like, have you been to Albertsons and looked at the magazine that they have sitting at the checkout counter? Except there's no middleman, right? And like, so they built that whole business in about 6 years now that they've been doing it. And like I said, they just bought a $500,000 house, and they're not worried about paying their mortgage. Like, I think they put like 50% down on it, and it was all because somebody said put up or shut up, right? Like, and I think you may not be lucky. You might not be Adam. You might not be my nephew Nick. You might be talking all this shit about what you could do, and you might not be fortunate enough to have some friend that calls you out. You got to call yourself out. right? Because that's what, and TSP, that's how TSP started. I was sitting in a car one day, driving to work, listening to AM talk radio, going, these assholes have half the time they're on is commercials. And the other half the time they're on, they're only saying 5% of the time of anything that makes any sense. I could do a better job than this. And I said to myself, well, if you can, then why don't you fucking do it and stop yelling at the radio? And I took a $30 recorder, and I built everything I have off a $30 recorder and a $20 Plantronics headset. So, like, somebody might not call you out. You call yourself out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
I saw
and I'll throw out everybody.
You go, Adam.
Analysis paralysis, for sure a thing. And the only way I've overcome it is jumping in headlong, right? If you don't have those people calling you out, you got to do it yourself. You may not be, huge entrepreneur type. You may never be self-employed, but constantly be trying stuff, right? You never know if one skill that you tried 5 years ago ends up being useful one day. I've worked for big corporate, healthcare. I'm not making anything I could live on right now, but I'm always trying stuff. And you know what? Every once in a while, one of those things I tried back in the day gets me $500, a couple $1,000 here and there. I started a YouTube channel a few years back. No intention to do anything with it. Did it for a few months, just recording me hiking around, trails in the local area. Whole point was I wanted to learn how to edit video. So I did that because I needed a project. I did it. Nothing ever really came of it, a few hundred views, whatever. But this last year, pandemic, ended up going on staff for doing live streaming for a church, right? Because I knew how to run the software. I knew how to, because I could do it. And I was the only guy there who had any clue how to figure it out. And I had the confidence to do it. I hadn't done live streaming, but I knew basic. I had a camera, I had a microphone, I hadn't done any of that in 5 years, but I could do it. So even if you're not starting a business, always be trying things and be willing to spend some money on the education. A few $100 here and there, not going to kill you. So get those skills, follow those interests.
You can do it with anything. I just found a guy, my wife loves him already as far as his YouTube videos, even though we'll never buy one. But at one time, we lived in a mobile home, and we know that mobile homes can be a viable housing alternative. I say we'll never buy one again. We might with like a second property or something. And all this dude does is tours of mobile homes. But he does them from like the little cheapest one you can get to like the most badass competing with a site-built custom that there is. And all he does is drive up to, a display lot and says, hey, I run a YouTube channel, and I would like to do walkthroughs of your homes, and I'm not going to buy one, so I'm not misleading you, but that's what I want to do. And I'll make sure I feature, every one I do, I'll feature that this is where your location is. What do you think they say?
Yep.
Yes. And he'll say, like, I don't want to interfere with your, you're showing your customer stuff. What's your slowest time of your slowest day? And they'll say, it's Tuesday mornings or whatever. Okay, I'll come Tuesday morning and do it. And if there's anything you want me to show, have one of your people you're training walk me through. That way they can get training. And he has like 110,000 subscribers. Now, if you can't monetize that, your problem. It's not YouTube's problem, right? That's your problem. Like, so there's something that anybody could have done that, and somebody could do that tomorrow. I know a guy and I know this guy personally. His entire YouTube channel, he goes fishing every fucking day and videos his fishing. Right? Like, anybody could have done it, but he did it first. He did it right. Like, there's tons of things that you can do, and that's just YouTube. Like you said, you can use a product marketplace. You can do anything if you'll do it.
Well, the key is to keep doing it.
Just start.
Too. Yep. Start and keep doing it, because at first, you don't usually 2 weeks in have 100,000 followers.
No.
That can happen, but it's rare. Very, very rare. You got to have that consistency. You did a really good show with Tim Cook in the last month or so about that. And if anybody's thinking about a content business, you should listen to that interview.
Oh, you got to listen to that. And I mean, he's still so small, but he doesn't feel small because he built what he had, and it's already paying off.
Yeah.
Right. So if you say to somebody, well, I have 8,000 followers on YouTube, they're like, who gives a shit? Well, the guy with the 8,000 followers that's already building the foundations of a business,
Yeah.
cares.
If you're monetized, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Mhm.
All right, Adam, thanks for being with us. You got anything else before I bring Lauren on?
Yep. No, we're
Tactical
good.
might poke his head in here. I don't know. He did once.
Well, you got more coffee, so we know he did. Lauren, how you doing, bro?
Hey, Jack, how you doing?
Good.
I don't know if you remember, but I met you back in was 2014 at PV1.
Okay.
I was so starstruck that I was like, hi. And yeah, then my nephew, I think he came up and he's like, hey, my uncle he really likes you, and like got you on camera with him. And
this is gonna suck. I remember him.
Not creepy at all.
That year was crazy. I remember that was the year I had people literally following me into the bathroom asking me questions.
No.
oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm literally standing at the urinal, and I won't explain what's going on, but you can figure it out for yourself.
Yeah,
and people are like, Jack, can I ask you a question? Not while I pee.
Yep.
That was fun. Anyway,
yeah, PV1.
I do remember you. I just had to do that to you. It was too big a setup.
Nah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So I would love to see more workshops nationwide. I know that Hollow Roast does some. I would love to get down to Texas to do a workshop down there. I would love to see one in the Intermountain West where I live. And I know the answer is, well, go do it then. My question really is, how do you put on a workshop? Because I've never done one before.
Have you gone to one of Jack's?
I haven't, and I want to. I'm about to have a baby within the month, so that's not going to happen this year. Probably not next spring either.
So the person that I know that puts on workshops that's successful with them came to mind, totally with my blessing, ripped me off, went back home and started doing workshops using the exact formula that she took from my workshops. And fortunately, she's right here. She can tell you all about it.
Yeah, I did. I went there and told him I wanted to rip him off. And on Barter Blanket, up for barter was he would go anywhere, Reverend Jack, and give a presentation or ceremony. And I managed to barter that. And so my first workshop, I also had Jack Spirko coming to it. So I found somebody who had more draw than I do to come to my workshop. And then I sold tickets and I worked really hard to make sure it was as good as it could be. But the value of going to a workshop like Jack's is you learn things you wouldn't have thought of about how to make a workshop go well. Because one of the great things there is they want to make sure everybody has a good time, that you're not eating crappy food. You know, it's not going to be beans and rice and bring your own plate and fork, right? They make sure everybody's taken care of. And
we have variety in our food. Tonight we have beans and rice. Tomorrow we have rice and beans.
Yeah, because somebody didn't think about budget, you know. And that's the other thing is in advance figure out what your expenses will be so that you price your tickets appropriately. Because I see workshops all the time. There's a 3-day workshop here for $59 that I will be at. $59 is too cheap.
Yeah,
for 3 days. I know because I feed people at mine. Jack feeds people at his. I know what those bills look like, and so that's really important. But I think it really does help to have speakers who are attractive, and then make sure you have the logistics to do it. And going to a workshop that's well run and learning from it and stealing it's a really great way to start. That was one of my ulterior motives of going there, and I said it while I was there. So Dorothy showed me extra stuff, right? She showed me some of the other things they were doing in the background, which was instrumental in me not having to learn those lessons the hard way to begin with.
You know what was cool though is like this feeds itself. It's like some of the crazy shit that happens here now, this tradition, that woman right there is part of it. Like, so the one workshop, like it was like Saturday night. So Saturday night's when I can completely fucking relax because everything that has to be done has been done. Everybody's been fed. Everybody's happy. We made it through Barter Blanket. Nobody got their phone thrown in the fire for filming when they're not supposed to or anything. Everything's good. And all of a sudden, Nicole walks up and introduces herself as David and starts telling this completely random bullshit story with elements of truth about David in it, but like it's 80% bullshit and they're pretending to be each other.
That was fun.
And it was hilarious. And everybody, because everybody by this point, even if you're new, it's like your first one, you know David and you know Nicole and you know how ridiculous this is. So she gets done and here comes David ambling up and he starts talking about how he was this poor immigrant named Nicole Sauce. And he came to the United States with his family and that their first job was making glitter for strippers. And they had to take tinsel and cut it in little tiny pieces. And that they were able to eke out a living with the stripper glitter. But she realized it just wasn't enough. And she was going to sell coffee, but she thought that was stupid because everybody sells coffee. So she had goats. And she decided to give the goats the coffee and sell caffeinated goat juice. Right? And like I'm going, what the fuck is happening? I have no idea. I have no fucking idea what's going on. And then like she gets done, and all of a sudden, here comes Nick Ferguson in a camouflage fucking army jacket with my fucking glasses on. And like 5 t-shirts stuffed in it to add weight to him because he's so fucking skinny. He's like, my name's Jack Spirko, and I got an idea one day. How can I get all the shit done on my homestead for free? And I thought that was stupid because I could get people to pay me to do all the work on my homestead. And he's pretending to be me. And like we do that shit every year now. But her and David caught, like, I guarantee you Nick didn't even know he was going to do that until like, because they didn't coordinate with him. When Nicole and David did their shit, he's like, oh, I got a fucking idea. And he's in my closet digging through my shit, pulling my clothes out. And like, that's why it's worth going. Like you say, if I could get down there, okay, I already told you you're going to sit in a freaking workshop with 10 to 20 millionaires. You can make it happen, right? And then the other side is everything we do right here. I hate to sound like a dick, but it's because of what everybody else did wrong. I went to workshops in permaculture and other things too with big name people, Seb Holzer, Dave Jackie, etc. And I went for free. And I was pissed because I got people to come and went, this person sitting right over there paid $750 fucking dollars to be here because I told them to come and that I would be here. And so I took them out and bought them beers and made them feel better about it. But I'm going, they shouldn't have been treated this way. You shouldn't pay $750 to be in a week-long fucking workshop and finally think you're getting meat and find out the white shit in the broccoli is tofu.
Ooh.
That should not happen. You should not sign up for a $750 workshop for a week and get an email 2 weeks before the workshop asking you to bring coffee if you drink coffee so you can share with everybody else. Like, if I can't provide coffee to my guests, now I've got one of the greatest coffee people in the world, but if I didn't, there would still be, I mean, minimum, I'm going to bring in like freaking Pete's or Starbucks or something. Like, I am not going to be like, bring coffee. And by the way, since we're so permaculture, make sure it's fair trade. What? Bring your own fork, knife, spoon, bowl, cup, and plate.
On the plane.
What? When I know like 80% of the people are going to camp, so you're already bringing a tent and all this other shit, and now you're bringing no, I'm not doing that to people. So like, even if you don't figure out how to get here, like, go to other people's thing and note what they do right and note what they do wrong, because I was actually surprised at how well you weren't. I don't think you were around us yet, Nicole, when I did my first one.
Yeah.
My very first one. Jake was here. That's how long. That's why we tolerate Jake's annoyance, right? Jake was here. And Jake came up to me and he said, you said that you would make mistakes. You said there would be things that you screwed up. There wasn't. And I'm like, looking back now, I'm like, yeah, there was a bunch.
Yeah, you just didn't know about it.
But comparing to the bar that we were competing with, there wasn't. And it was because I probably went to 10, 12 and went, these are all the things that happened to me that I'm not okay with. And these are all the things that I saw happen to other people that if I were them, I wouldn't be okay with. And I'm going to make sure that shit doesn't happen here. And if I have to charge $500 a head to do that, then I would rather charge $500 and have everybody go fuck, that was awesome. And have a few people go, that's expensive. Don't fucking come, right? Then charge $200 and have people go, this sucked.
Yep.
Just, I want to feed people rattlesnake and rabbit sausage. I want to feed them elk and beehive cheddar. I want to feed them quail legs, right? Like, you feed people well, you give them a good time, you give them a karaoke experience, whatever. They don't give a shit. They're coming back. And I think, like, if you do it, judge your success on how often they come back, because all these other ones I went to, even the ones like, I did learn a lot from Sepp. I mean, meeting Sepp Holzer was like, that was a fanboy experience for me, and I learned a lot from him, and I got to spend time with him that other people didn't, and that was all great and all. But if the same people that ran that workshop ran another one, I wouldn't pay to go. And if they told me I could come for free, I wouldn't take my time to go. And if they offered to pay me to come, okay, I'll be honest, I'd say how much.
and steak is required.
Right. But if they said, we'll pay you to come, but we want you to promote it for us, no. Unless you could show me how you fixed this punch list, like you do with a house, like a new house. Here's my punch list of all the shit you fucked up last time. I'm not putting my reputation on the line for you. And you don't want to be that. You want to be something like, if somebody says they won't come, it's because they can't. It's not because they don't want to lend their name to what you're doing. And big names aren't that important. Like, yeah, I did go to Nicole's first one, but
it really helped get the people there to see what it was like, though. Yeah. And then my everyone since then has been sold out. I sold out in half a day. I took a little longer than Jack does, but half a day last year.
But be careful who you make the deals with to do that, right? Because, like, you mentioned Permaculture Voices.
Mm-hmm.
Diego did a great job with that, but there were 3 of them, and each one was smaller than the previous one. And it doesn't exist anymore. And to me, it's because in his first one, he went for all the big names, and he paid them whatever they wanted to get them there. And he had a lot of show up and throw ups, right? And I got to throw out something from my biggest mentor in the world, Jeff Lawton. Jeff Lawton didn't show up and throw up. Jeff Lawton hung out. He didn't go to bars and all because he's Muslim and he doesn't drink and he doesn't want to, he means what he says. But, like, he stood in the back and hung out and talked to anybody that walked up to him. But people like Salatin, and I love Joel Salatin, but Joel Salatin showed up, spoke, and left. Alan Savory showed up, spoke, and left. And I could keep going, but they all showed up, spoke, and left. His second one was closer because he brought in people like Mark Shepard. Mark Shepard freaking stayed, hung out, talked to people. What's his name? The mushroom guy. Stamets. He did leave the last day a bit early, but he had to. Like, when he was there, he was there. Like, you need people. And I'd rather have I love Mark and I love Paul, but the hell with Mark and Paul. I would rather have people that are smaller names, but they're here the whole time.
Yep.
Than people who are like, well, my fee is $3,000 and I want the green M&Ms picked out of my M&Ms in my bowl, and I want to be put in a hotel like this or whatever. Like, I want people that are like, I want to be part of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And harness local resources, man. I bet you there's people around you freaking brilliant at what they're brilliant at. Give them an hour, let them talk.
Are you concerned at all, or do you have like an event insurance or anything like that?
I have a waiver.
I have a waiver.
You
can get event insurance. I don't know on a private property what that looks like. I know it's not very expensive for commercial property.
Yeah.
So you just need to weigh the cost of that. The kind of people who come to my workshop better not be the kind of people who are going to be that litigious.
Yeah.
They might be. I mean, it is a risk that the waiver would.
That's why you're not inviting 1,200 people, right?
Also, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm doing one in October with John Willis, and I'm thinking about event insurance for that because that's going to be a higher head count.
So you also don't know who you're getting.
Right.
Right. So we have kind of a family thing going on now, so like that helps too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Nicole's right, and part of why you're going to have less insurance costs with a public
commercial building.
Yeah, is because they're carrying some insurance already.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically buying additional insurance at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But do it.
Awesome. Yeah, I need to
do it.
Yeah, every spring, my brother he runs a cattle ranch, and he does a branding season every spring, and I'm like, he should have that as a small event for people, because it's fun branding 100 calves, because every once in a while the brand kind of slips and might hit somebody in the butt, or it's
now that sounds like
it's so much fun. Like
Yeah.
I did it when ever since I was a little kid all the way up to now, and it's a little party, and it's so much fun, and maybe I can talk my brother into turning that into an event.
Yeah, and keep your head count low on your first one so you can learn from it. I think I did 24 my first one.
Yeah.
And 24 was nothing. I mean, I could have put 50 in that one. I knew we weren't ready yet. I knew we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah, I think Nicole would agree with that. Like having your first one and getting because you can go to other people's and all, and you think you got it, but when you have to be the one that's like, where's the fucking food? Why isn't the porta-john here? Why did it have to rain today? Like,
it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain.
But because 5 years ago, Dorothy and I would have already been working our ass off getting ready for November, and now we're like, fuck it, we got it.
Yeah.
We know the stuff we have to pre-cook. We'll start on that next week. Like our mutual friend David, a lot of times he'll be here like, you guys got to be freaking out by now. You're only like a week away. And we're like, been doing it for freaking 9 years, man. We do this in our sleep now. But our first one, like, oh fuck, we're gonna fuck up this and we're gonna fuck up that, and like, it's just a growth process. But you got to do the first one and do the second one, And we were stupid. I think our first year we did 6 in 1 year.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we got really close to a divorce.
The only time you were close to a divorce was the year 6.
Yeah, it's like buying a pop-up camper. If you're married, don't buy a fucking pop-up camper. The second time you pop it up, you'll be calling each other names that you shouldn't ever call a spouse. All right, let's. I don't want to kick you or anything. Let's bring Hayes in.
Oh, I got to go.
All right, well, we'll bounce you then.
Hi, Hayes.
Well, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome.
You're a clown, Hayes.
Yes, I am a clown. Actually, I was the class nerd. I was the good kid in school.
For those that didn't see it, that's an inside joke from Thursday's live stream.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
what's up, bro?
Well, I just want to say, like, coming from chat, sometimes you got to fight dirty because you've got this much room to get a message across. I learned that a long time ago. I've been doing this internet thing since the late 90s, and growing up seeing people mature as they try to interact online, and trying to mature myself, keeping up with your own emotions as you're trying to interact with people. And you get to the nerds rule thing. Thanks. And the problem is you realize that there's some people out there they're literally designed just to trigger your emotions. So it's really important to learn how to ignore people, I guess, online. But hey, thanks for having me on the show. How are y'all doing?
We're good.
Good. Tactical keeps walking in and out here, but
we've been rolling like 2 hours, so we're relying on you now to like.
Yeah, you're
supposed to boy. Well, I'm
you gotta talk.
I am a student. I am definitely not the person that needs to be talking right now because I have so much to learn from everybody here. I am definitely the poster child for the opposite of entrepreneurial. I've been just stuck in the womb for the longest time. Real quick, I guess I'll just talk about what I thought that I was going to be doing at this point in my life. I was really just relying on becoming a college professor. I was going to start doing that about 6-7 years ago. Until about maybe this point, I'd start looking at getting tenure. And unfortunately, about 10 years ago, I realized that was probably not going to happen. I just got to a point where I decided, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with universities, with any kind of state-run type kind of organizations. I had a number of friends of mine explain to me a lot of inside type kind of things that made me realize I'm probably not cut out for that job. So here I am finding myself at a kind of a crossroads, trying to figure out what I need to do with the rest of my life going forward. I can still kind of go back to plan B. I'm a computer engineer, software engineer. But most of the jobs that I find that I end up working are just complete bullshit. I mean, every single job that I've worked, for the most part, like in this, that's built the internet that that we're all using right now, I can attest that probably every company out there, every application, every platform is probably just hanging by a string. And right now there's about 3, 4, 5 people keeping it alive, making sure that nothing crashes. It's generally not that bad. I mean, maybe that's about 10% of all the companies out there, but about like a good 50, 60% of them just constantly putting out fires. Fires.
Every company I've been involved with pretty much has an element of that. I believe that's why when we have minor disruptions in the world, it has a big impact on we're looking at the supply chain right now. Big impact on supply chain, the most minorest of things. A tornado coming through Tennessee will wipe out distribution for weeks, if not months, for that one little thing. And it doesn't feel little when the tornado hits your house, but in the grander scale of the whole country, right? It's this one little thing. And that's because there's a pants on fire approach in many businesses to how they run. So I don't have good advice for you other than start thinking about, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? Not what do I want to do, but what do you want from life?
That's a great question, but unfortunately right now I feel like the plight of my nation and my country is what's getting in front of what I want to do. I'm feeling a sort of selflessness.
Were you on earlier when Jack talked about turning off the TV?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I turned off the TV back in 1995.
Good.
I stopped listening to radio back in 1995. I still watch movies, but the idea was to, and this is interesting, I'm glad you brought this up because I have a problem with monetization.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for people to make money right now, but how we're making money is through advertisements.
Okay.
And what are the advertisements that are being rolled behind your message, behind your back?
But
monetization.
What do you want?
Oh, good question.
That's, what I'm saying? What do you want for you, for your life, separate from what you do, how you make money, how the world is running right now? What do you want to be happy? Because when you answer that question, and for me, I have this thing right here that I write in, where is it? Which way? The camera's backwards. So in order to figure out what I want, I've had to take some time every day to just free flow through things. What makes me happy? What doesn't make me happy? When I hear something and I choke up, that's an indication that that's something that should not be in my life. Is it because it shouldn't be in my life, or is it because I haven't lived up to a responsibility to that thing, right? But answering that bigger picture of what you want makes it easier to figure out the rest. And what's going on in the world, that is what it is, right? What you want for you, or for you and your family, or however that looks, you and your community, is the biggest thing you need to know before you can make the other decisions, really. And if your job, which is a cluster, is enabling you to pay for the things you want, and that's the role it has, and you can see it that way, the cluster becomes less upsetting when you realize that's where it is. Yeah, and that, I know that's hard because sometimes, I've worked stuff I hated, but I was like, but I'm making $85,000 a year, so I guess I'll do this for a while,
I have no problem going back to my day job.
Yeah.
Quotes.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. It is getting a little bit tougher for me to land a day job, though, because, it's, it's just something that I have to deal with, but it is getting increasingly hilarious. And I'm sure that maybe you out there are wondering the same question. As more and more people want to get into software development, for lack of a better word, application development, whatever, just pumping in. Why are they coming in? Because the dollars are there. Now we've got all the recruiters that are coming in as well. They wiped out all the mom and pop headhunters, for what it's worth. I don't know if y'all realize that or not. I talk to them all the time. And the reason is because they offer a staffing. They basically are now a staffing firm that can offer all the HR stuff, handle all the payroll and insurance, 401k.
Plus, you need an Ajax guy today. You need a Ruby on Rails guy tomorrow. We can flip them around for you, whatever you need, right?
They have no clue what the job is, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like the mom and pop headhunters, they knew what the talent was. They knew how to find the talent. They knew how to read between the lines when they saw a resume.
Yeah.
Now it's like, wow, I've got to have 10 different resumes on hand and know which one to give to this person, because they're going to read between the lines. They're not going to give me a chance to actually. So when I come into these interviews, I have to be very careful because I have to be very, very assertive and come in very, very headstrong most of the time, unless I know that I'm talking to somebody who gets it. It's so tempting for me to just come in and just to grill the recruiter just down to pieces and then just hang up the phone and just walk away. It's probably not doing anybody any good, though.
No, I mean, you want to use that as a tool, right? It's a tool
Right.
to get what you want. When I do coaching and when I help people develop a marketing position, I would say 95% of what we harp on in coaching sessions is that big picture. What do you want? Because if you really nail that, everything else just comes together. And I know, and it takes some time. You know, some people just know what they want like that and can blast it out of the park. But other people, you know, most people take longer. Jack actually can come up with a marketing position in 10.3 seconds approximately after he's heard somebody's story. And he'd be like, here's how you have to frame it. So if you ever hear him tell your business back to you, you just take notes because he's really good at that. His brain works that way. But, you know, a lot of other people take a little bit more time to figure that out. So I don't know. I mean, the answer to your question is inside you, which is the hard part about your question, right?
Oh, it definitely is, because the other side, I mean, this is going to sound completely crazy off the wall, but I really just want to become an electrician at this point.
Do it.
Isn't that crazy?
No.
Why not?
No, it's not.
Electricians make a lot of money. They're employed all the time. And especially now, I know an electrician who has to say no to jobs because he hires my neighbor half the time because my neighbor's only willing to work for him half time, right? And they're busy. They're busy.
True. I feel like the pandemic is getting in the way of that. I really would rather wait till the pandemic is over, but is it going to be over?
The pandemic's accelerating that here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's accelerating. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but it's like here.
I'm very close to you, actually. I'm in Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you one thing.
Starting in Tennessee.
I don't care who you are or what you do or what you're going to do. If you use the phrase, wait until the pandemic's over, fucking stop that shit. Ignore the pandemic. Other than it is a factor in what you do, and then figure out how to do it. If you can build success right now, and if we do get in somehow like aliens come and shut down government or whatever, and they make the pandemic go away, and I did say pandemic, then you'll do fine. But if you wait, you won't do. You'll do not, in the words of Yoda. And then the other side of it, like I was getting ready to tell you, and I missed some because what happened, I had to go. The rooster decided he wanted to fight the dog, and that's not good for the rooster. So I'm not sure if I got all this, because then all of a sudden recruiting came in, and then my ears perked up because I used to run a recruiting firm. But you're not a recruiter.
No.
Okay, so get that out. So you are a software guy, right?
Yes.
But then you said you wanted to be an electrician. So I agree with Nicole. Go be a fucking electrician. If you want to keep doing software work, when I started TSP and I started taking sponsors, I was like, so do I charge a lot to be a sponsor? Or do I charge a little bit to be a sponsor and select sponsors I really love? And if my sponsorship shit's so great, can I come up with something to sell as though it was one of those spots? Because otherwise, I'm renting space that either is overvalued or undervalued. If I can't sell something with it, then why would anybody else? Like, because that's how people think when they build a content business, right? Like radio, TV, podcasting, video, whatever. I'm going to rely on sponsorship income. So then you're either ripping off your sponsor, right? They just have so much money they don't get. Like, I'm sponsoring a podcast for $1,000 a month. Fuck it, who cares? Because I make $1,000 a day. And it gets buried in, and they don't have time to do the analysis. Or you're selling them sponsorship for $200, $500, $1,000 a month, and they're making $50,000 a month off it. Why are you doing that? Why wouldn't you use it? So, like, when you say you're a software guy, I'm like, if I was a fucking software guy when I was 25, I'd be worth billions of dollars right now, and I would be live feeding to you from the island of Fuck-Offistan.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would have built some shit for myself. So if you're going to stay in software, build some shit for Hayes. Like you speak a language. This is how I look at software developers. The real power of software developers, you speak a language other people don't. Java, PHP, C+. I mean, now I'm really dating myself, right? But like Ruby on Rails, whatever. All of these things, all they actually are is like saying I speak Spanish. I speak German. I speak Russian. So if I speak Spanish and you don't, I can walk over to a group of guys that agreed to work for us and say, "Puedo oír aquí," and they'll dig a fucking hole for me right here. And you go, "Wow." No, all I said was dig a fucking hole, right? Like, that's all I said. And you know how to talk to a computer and make it do a thing, and I don't. So I'm willing to pay you to do that for me because I come up with an idea, right? You could tell that computer to do things, not for Jack. You could, or Nicole, you could tell that computer to do things for Hayes, like, "Dear computer, please make Hayes money." And then the computer would make you money instead of your work. So if you really want to be an electrician, go be an electrician. If you really want to lay down code, start laying some code down for you, right? Like, there's a million things that a computer could be doing for you. Our friend David, we keep mentioning, bastard hasn't showed up yet today either.
Yeah, what's up with that?
He's meeting somebody's brother today.
Oh.
So
that sounds kind of like the mafia, the way you said
when he
that.
teaches automation, he says, "What would you do if you didn't have to do it?" That's his entire case for automating your homestead. What would you do if you didn't have to do it? And the answer is everything I can think of that benefits me. Well, if you can automate that, then you have a thing that can be done that you don't have to do, right? So that's what software is. Software is the automation of a process. In its most basic, that's what software actually is. It automates a process. And there's a reason that, like, the richest fucking people in the world either develop or deliver software or enable what they do through software today. Facebook is not a social media platform. It's a fucking software business. Microsoft is a software business. Amazon is a fucking software business. Software is what makes Amazon's hardware work. So you need to have, like, Hayes Inc. if you want to stay in software. Or go be an electrician. There's nothing wrong with that either. Like, what do you want to do? Like, your Dash is doing this every day. Shrinking.
Oh, yeah.
And then one day, so if you want to, like, learn to wire shit, start learning to wire shit, apprentice with somebody, go do it. I paid a guy $600 to run a couple pieces of flex and install these ceiling fans that are above my head right now that let me be out here instead of in the house, right? Like, and he started, he was doing it on the side, so he made $600 on a Saturday. Come do that and one other job for me. And the last time I had him do work, he's like, "I'm gonna have to charge you more now." I'm like, "Fine, but why?" He's like, I'm not doing it on the side anymore. I went into business for myself." I'm like, "Good for you. Charge me whatever you want to. If you get too high, I'll tell you to fuck off." He hasn't got too high yet. Because I know when he does work, my house won't burn down. So whatever it is you want to do it for Hayes. You know?
I think that's what it is. It's hard to say. It's really funny. It's like what's not within me, what I want to put in me, is just how do I make money? My whole life I've been focused on everything but actually making money. And because I picked something that made a lot of money, it was a byproduct.
Ask yourself that question every day. How do I make money with this? Write on it.
Yep.
Or if this doesn't work for you,
and make sure you take fuchsia for your color. That's why Nicole's works, because she picked fuchsia. And if next time I see you, if you're not carrying a fuchsia folder, I know you're not doing it for real.
I didn't pick this color. The redneck bought me a journal when I asked him to at Walmart, and it came back pink.
Fuchsia, is that fuchsia or pink?
It's hot pink.
Hot pink. Okay.
Yeah.
I did my best. Let's
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let's give Matt a chance now.
Matt. Okay.
You're muted, Matt.
Unmute.
There you go.
There you go.
So, hey everyone. So I'm Farm Boy, like on Discord, and hey to anyone on Discord watching from Discord. So I know you brought me on to ask me about or have me talk about the ducks that I've been selling to a restaurant.
Cool.
So yeah, we've for about 2 or 3 years now we've been selling to this restaurant, and of course 2 years ago was kind of a trial. And last year we're going to start to get really solid into it, and then COVID and a bunch of BS there happened. Fortunately, our state, Iowa, wasn't too bad. They did close down restaurants for like a month, but then the governor's like, "No, that's a bunch of crap," and so opened everything back up, much wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then this year is kind of a big, let's see how it goes, and then pretty much from here on out, the or the restaurant that we sell to, and he's only open on Fridays and Saturdays. And just this little small town hole in the wall kind of thing, but he's great chef. And he's like, hey, let's just give this a try, or let's just continue on with this with 5 ducks a week, and they're closed just 2 months out of the year for their own little vacation. And so yeah, basically 215 ducks a year that we got solid, and just like a nice little side income. And so yeah, it's been an experience. And my wife's not here, but we wouldn't even be doing this duck thing without her, because we started doing this homesteading stuff. And we went to go Tractor Supply to get some chickens, and I think like there was like a minimum of 5, and we didn't want 5 chickens, and say, oh, you can get 2 ducks. And I was like, I don't want to deal with ducks, because listening to the podcast, like, I got to deal with the water and all that. And of course, wife like, come on, let's do it. You know how she is, how they get. And so gave in, and one thing led to another. We've been doing duck eggs at the farmers market for 5 years. And that was an interesting experience too. Although this is our last year doing, just so we can focus on homesteading stuff. But then we got to duck meat, and I will say meat ducks are a lot easier than doing egg ducks. That's huge, because it's washing eggs alone takes a lot of time. But meat ducks, you got 2 busy days. One when you pick them up and you get them all set up, and then when you take them into processor. So, but yeah, it's been quite an experience. And the restaurant, like I said, the chef is great. He trained out in California underneath some really high-end chef out there. He's from the area, and I'm in north central Iowa. And so he wanted to come back and open up a little restaurant. And if you ever want to look it up, it's Cafe Mir, Cafe MIR, and they're in Fertile, Iowa. And so if you're ever driving up I-35 like on a Friday or Saturday evening, and you're having to be in the area, you should swing by and check them out, because they're really good. So, and he does a half duck confit, and so it's just a half of a duck, and I couldn't explain to you how all he cooks it, but we have it at least once or twice a year, and he just does an amazing job.
Slow under fat. That's how he cooks it.
Yeah. Comfy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm watching a duck walk by right now going,
you're like,
Yeah, and we just took in a bunch. I have 68 ducks in our freezer right now.
What's brilliant about your business model, though, is you're impervious to competition.
Yeah.
Right? It's just enough that you actually have to be serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so little that any true commercial operations, like, I can't really like to have somebody that can sell you 2, 3, 4, 5 ducks a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's hard. Like either you have somebody that can sell you like that many once a year,
mm-hmm.
or somebody that wants to sell you 500 a quarter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that middle spot. That's what we did with the eggs. Like when we were doing it big time, we had like 5 restaurants, and like they would price other people, and they're like, well, you want $12 a dozen? Yes, we do. Well, what if we don't pay you? Then you don't get any eggs from us. But what if we buy more? They're $12 a dozen. Well, what if we buy less? They're $12 a dozen. Well, what if we want 18 dozen instead of 15 dozen? They're $12 a dozen.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're $1 an egg. Does that make it more clear? And when they would price it, we found a guy who'll do it for $6 a dozen. Well, can he give you 18 dozen a month? No? Go buy his. And, we kept until we got to the point where, like, the kids were here all the time and my wife couldn't deal with her side of it anymore. We had, like, an iron fist on, like, we had, like, the duck egg monopoly on DFW, which is a 6 million person market. But it was because we were in that, like, if we tried to do it with chicken eggs, they would have been like, piss off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or some weird exotic. We did ostrich egg or something. We would have done. It was like being in that middle size. And then like if you decide you want to scale that, you don't try to grow that guy into buying 500 eggs a quarter or 500 ducks a quarter from you. You want one more guy just like him.
Yep.
And then you want 2 more guys just like them. And then you have a business. Like right now, I said that wrong. You have a business. Then you have a business that's more of a, like maybe one of you stops working business.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now I have a full-time job. I'm an engineer, and so I got a full-time job elsewhere. But yeah,
engineers
and right now,
make fucking awesome farmers, by the way. No, they do. Darby Simpson is an engineer.
Yep, I
Darby
know.
Simpson's an engineer.
Yep, and then Wisconsin. His name slips my mind right now.
Mark Shepard.
Yes, Mark Shepard.
He's an engineer.
Yep.
I got a great Mark Shepard story here. So Nick and me and Mark Shepard were out in the middle of a field in Arkansas. It's not a joke. It's a story. And we're on this old ass farm, and we find this rusted, like 80% of it's gone into the ground, framework of an old machine. And we look at it, and Nick and I go, I don't know what the hell this is. And Mark looks at it and goes, I know what it is. Well, tell us, what do you think it is? He goes, it's a hay baler. It's an old school hay baler. And he's like, you know how I knew that? I knew that because I'm an engineer. And Nick looks at him and goes, you knew that because you're so fucking old you used one.
I believe it.
Jack, I got a story from the network. Somebody in the network who has been striking out on their own called me.
We're going to bring Zach in with us because he's pounding beers, and he's going to be toast if we don't bring him in.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nicole.
So anyway, this guy called me and said, I'm trying to decide because I've been working hard on this, and it's just not, the numbers aren't working out, if I should just take a job. And I asked him some questions, and I was like, well, how much more do you need sales-wise to make it so you don't have to take a job? And the answer was $2,000. And they sell to restaurants. And I said, well, how many restaurants do you have to call to add $2,000 a month? And they told me, about 20. And I'm like, go make 20 phone calls and then decide. And I got a text later that day. I think it was just 1 or 2 calls later, $500 a week contract. And I'm like, okay, you're done. I mean, you keep growing it, but yeah. So I just thought I'd share that because sometimes when we're starting things, we do run into that holy crap cash flow problem. And you have to step back from the emotion of it and say, okay, but what do I need to get past the cash flow problem? And how does that translate into activities I'm taking?
Well, and then your formula was basically, well, how'd you get the fucking cash flow that you have now?
Yeah.
Right? And instead of doing more of that, your solution is to go work for somebody that will take you away from the ability to do that.
Right.
Yeah. I listen to that and I go, I know that we pick things up from each other, but I know that's my formula, and I know I didn't teach you that.
Well,
right? That's like it's not because it's like Jack's formula or Nicole's formula. That's like the formula.
That's the formula.
That's like everybody that's successful knows that formula, right? Because whether they learned it from somebody or they just learned it by society, by doing, that's the formula.
Yeah, 20. You depending on your business, it may be 2 calls and you're closing 1 out of 2, or it may be 1 out of 10. If it's 1 out of 10, you got to make more calls.
You know who's a master of that shit is our mutual friend John Dowie.
Yes, he is.
We actually, we'll talk about this later because I want to let Zach talk, but
yeah,
we actually came up with an idea, me and David and him running around in New Hampshire in the snow in his little like child rape candy van.
Yeah.
About a reality show. We were going to call it Microgreen Mafia.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll finish that, but I want to let Zach talk first.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Saturday, beautiful out today. It's been hot as hell here. I just had a quick thank you for you guys. Nothing crazy. I'll walk as fast as I can.
Okay. You took off and leave you hanging so long. You went out and did some work, and now you got to get back to the place. Is that what's going on?
I'm an electrician, self-employed.
Okay.
I just started my business this year during the pandemic for Hayes. Home Advisor is a badass tool, man. You do got to pay for it, but if you're answering your calls and scheduling stuff and you got an idea about how you're setting prices, and you're licensed in your state, because you got to go through a background check to get it, it's a good source of income, and it'll get you rolling. And every person you get off Home Advisor will get you 3 more phone calls. I fucking guarantee you that. Apologize for my French. So I want to show you guys something. That van back there.
Yeah. Ooh.
That was my first work vehicle. And it's it ties in, Jack, to some stuff you were talking about. Just happened to be Tuesday night. I got an accident Monday night, Labor Day. I was working. And went out with some buddies afterward, had a few drinks, and because I started my business in March, and I went from $40,000 a year to $100,000, and just like that. And I did struggle, but it ties in, Jack, with what you were talking about Tuesday, you know, where you get too much money too fast, and the power, feeling invincible and shit. And it's thanks to you guys that I got to that place in the first place, having that vehicle and making that income, that change in my life. But there were 3 things I pulled out of that vehicle that weren't replaceable. And one is a coffee cup that my girlfriend made for me. We have twin girls, Lily and Magnolia, who were born in February. You see that? Them girls were born in February. In March, I quit my shit and started my own business because I was like, what the hell are we going to do? I got to pay for 2 little babies. Jesus. So that cup, a hat that I got in Tennessee, my vacation with my family in December, and then a rabbit's foot from a rabbit that I raised. Made that foot myself, and I never would have started raising rabbits if it weren't for listening to people like you. So that's stuff that came out of the wreck, and it's thanks to you guys that I got the attitude that I have, because my insurance lapsed too. So I'm in a fucking hole, but you people provide me with the attitude to not be scared of it. I'll get the shit. I'll get it right. So I just want to thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing your story. You got this, man. One step at a time. If you can build from $40,000 to $100,000 in 9 months, you can do it again between now and the end of the year.
Damn right.
Absolutely. And, you know, as bad as it is, that vehicle looks like it does, and the shit that it's caused, you're not still in it.
Yeah.
I know that.
That was the 4th important thing that came out of that van.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really fucking love those rabbit's feet. Y'all got to understand.
I get it, bro. I mean, I've been in 3 vehicle incidents, 2 wrecks, and one, I don't know how it wasn't a wreck. It was a wreck for everybody but me. And in 2 of the 3, I literally accepted I was going to die. Like, one, I wasn't even driving. Like, my buddy fell asleep, and I was asleep because it was his turn to drive, and apparently he forgot. And we were headed at a giant, like bigger than my arms can show in this video feed, upright from a concrete overpass. And when I woke up, I didn't have time to like figure out where we were. I just saw this concrete pillar coming at me. And I remember I was 21 years old, and I remember just like kind of going limp and going, hope it doesn't hurt. And then the car stopped, or the truck actually stopped. Oh,
I didn't think I was coming out.
I guess I'm here. I'm not even bleeding. All right. And got out of the vehicle, and the adrenaline's still going, so I didn't even really notice. It was like the wind chill was 35 below zero. We were in Kansas. And like, it's not even that bad. You know, I told them to pull forward, and truck would go, but it wouldn't turn because it would have saved our lives. We hit a guardrail, and it bent the tie rod like a U, so the wheels wouldn't turn. And by then the adrenaline wore off. So as bundled up as we were, about 5 seconds, your body was chilled to the bone. And we took turns in this highway in the middle of Kansas. getting out every time we saw lights coming, waving, hoping at 3 o'clock in the morning, hoping somebody would stop for us. And eventually somebody did. But while we were waiting for that, as we were sitting in the truck together, he's worried about what's going to happen to his insurance rates. And he even said at one point, I should just step out in front and let somebody run me over.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm like, you stupid fuck. I do not have time for this shit sitting with you 20 miles south of fucking McPherson, Kansas, where the fuck that is, and listening to your shit when we both almost died and we're both okay.
What's Geico going to think?
You know, we'll be fine. You know, don't worry about what the state farm bill is going to be. Worry about the fact that you're not going to like live the rest of your life drinking out of a saucer, because that's what could have happened to both of us right here. Like, and yeah, I mean, it sucks, but it'll be fine. It's nothing you can't deal with. And actually, you'll probably be better off. I know it sounds stupid. I know that sounds arrogant, whatever, but
extra struggle on top of that success.
You will not be better off by Christmas, but you might be better off. You might be better off by next Christmas, and you probably, with your attitude, will be much better off by the next Christmas because you're not going to quit, and you're going to get some feedback in this that, like, I don't know what happened, but it's probably not 100% that it wasn't anything to do with the choice you made. Because when you end with a wreck and you start with my buddies and I went drinking,
it's entirely my fault.
Okay, well then there you go.
But
I didn't want to step
nobody else was involved. I think I broke a guy's mailbox, but nobody lost lives. I can replace a mailbox, you know, a lot easier than I can even replace somebody else's vehicle.
Yeah. Then you're actually in good shape, and you probably won't do that again. And you'll remember this magical service that exists on this box called Uber. And, you know, like, you got lucky in a way, because I've always said this, when it comes to a DUI, even if none of the other shit happens, just a straight DUI, you know what's cheaper than a DUI? Every other fucking option. Yeah. If you say, I'm fucked up, and you know what? I'm not going to jail tonight, and you call up Helicopters or Us and be like, I want a fucking helicopter, and they send a helicopter to the bar parking lot, pick you up, and the helicopter pilot's like, where the fuck we going? You're like, wherever the closest fucking Ramada is, and on the way to the Ramada, like, I'm coming in on a fucking helicopter, we're going to land on your fucking roof, and I want the fucking penthouse, and I want 3 hookers up there waiting on me, and I want 5 bottles of Cristal. It's still less. It's still, like, you could have the party of your life, and it's still less than 1 DUI.
And if this is making you question your choices on alcohol,
that's good.
There's a book called This Naked Mind that you can get. You can listen to it too, like I think it's on YouTube. That it's just somebody's exploration of their dependence on alcohol. And I know several people in my immediate community who decided they weren't able to control their choices with alcohol, and started with that book and have turned their lives completely around in that regard. And if you're questioning it, it's okay to talk about that. Like, if you ever want somebody safe to talk to, I'm safe to talk to, because I'm not going to tell you to quit, and I'm not going to tell you to keep going. I'm just going to hear what you have to say. And I may have a recommendation, like a book or something, because I don't have, you know, like, only you can ever know that question. But I think it's hard because we enjoy alcohol, right? It's hard to ask that question to yourself even sometimes. And sometimes it's important to. I mostly don't drink anymore as of about a year ago. And Jack knows, because we've partied together. Mm-hmm. I'm no stranger to drinking. He's having his Bloody Mary today. But I realized I was using.
I'm on virgins now, just so y'all know.
For the record.
Yeah.
I realized if I kept going and I used it in an unhealthy emotional way, that would be not good. And I addressed that part of my use of it. And then I also realized if I want to get my weight under control, I can't put that many calories in my body. Yep. So, like, today I'm not drinking with Jack because it's a keto, no alcohol day.
Yeah,
I can't have any.
Yep.
And I have a very strict allocation per week at this point, so I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there. I don't know if that's where you're at, but if it is where you're at, then I'm saying the thing that a lot of people won't say.
Yeah, and I want to kind of add on to that. Like, people see me as a party guy and whatever, and Nicole knows I can be.
Yeah, both
I
of us.
I remember one year at one of the workshops here making a joke and saying, like, I'm an organ donor, but you don't want my liver. And I remember Patrick from MT Knives said, I want your liver because your liver is heroic. You don't just do that, right? Like you must have, and I'm like, you know, it really isn't. And Nicole knows this too. I drink a lot less than I used to. So I used to drink my share, Nicole's share, Zach's share, Rob's share, John's share, Tactical Redneck share, and a few other people's share. And yeah, I had a mini pitcher of bloodies today, but there were two shots of vodka in that whole thing, and I've been on Virgin since then. And you can do that, but if you can't, you can't. You know, my question for people is, do I need to quit and not ever drink again? Because people don't want to get help. Because if they go to like Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever, they're going to say you need to never drink. I don't care if you show up at Alcoholics Anonymous. I got drunk one time and I'm 18. You need to never drink again. That's going to be their solution.
Right.
And not everybody needs that solution. But my question for you is, can we sit down and have 2 beers and I go home and you go home and you don't drink anymore?
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
If
I
you
tend
can, then you
to
probably
drink
can work
less at home most days.
I don't want to focus in on this one thing that happened and say like this proves it, right? Because I think that's why people don't get help, right? Because like every form of help is you're an alcoholic. Well, maybe not, right? But like people listening to us, right? If you can't have one or 2 ever and stop, maybe you don't need to stop forever, but you need to stop for a while.
Yeah, I went as far as like, can I go to a party and have fun
without engaging
and I went to you know those people who have the hostel in East Tennessee mountains who were at the workshop. I went
brought nothing but beer and cigars to the bar.
So I went to a bar that had karaoke that night for a Freedom Cell meetup, and it's all beers. It's like they have the best, and I like a good beer.
It's all beers with corks.
Yeah, like all good beer.
Well,
they have the other kind too, but good beers.
15-20%.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to drink anything this whole weekend just to see if I have fun, and then temptation, right? And Sean Mills from Hack My Solar bought me Perrier all night long, which is part of what made it easy not to drink, because it was just like, it's a fizzy drink, right?
Yeah.
I had a great time singing karaoke, and I was like, well, this is good. I'm glad I can have fun without it. Because that was just, it was a question. I was like, I don't know, because I don't think I've been anywhere and not had something, right?
Yeah.
But this Naked Mind is a really good one to listen to, just no matter what, because it's about, you know, Tactical's actually saying he's the one who said that, you know, it's good for everybody no matter what where you are on that issue.
Yeah, it is something we all have to work out for ourselves. And I also found out in my own exploration with this that part of my issue with drinking was I was habitual versus addicted. Like, I like the ritual of mixing a drink and sitting down and having a drink and having something in my hand. And as stupid as it sounds, something as simple as like getting LaCroix, like a shitload of LaCroix, and like drinking LaCroix on the rocks while I was sitting down. Like, even if I had a drink that night, drinking like 5 of those or 6 of those first, so that the first drink you took after you were done work wasn't where you were thirsty, made a big difference for me. Because I mean, I came up in the world of like really like construction. Even when I was technical, I was doing construction work or overseeing construction work, and you're out all day in 100 fucking degree heat, and then the first thing you drink is a beer.
Yeah.
That fucking beer goes down like it's not even there, and you drink 3 of them before you even realize you had one. Yeah, and then maybe you actually enjoy the 4th one. So like sometimes just cutting into that ritual with some other things is helpful too, you know. That's not going to help somebody that really has a problem. I don't want to negate it, but like you can be habitually drinking more than you should. You absolutely can. And you find that it's just, and actually what really like wakes you up to going, well, what the fuck am I doing to myself, is when you do that, you're like, what if, because then you're sober, right? And you look at like 7 cans of LaCroix and you go,
yep.
Each one of those makes 2 vodka and tonics, right? That's 14 fucking drinks. And I probably shouldn't do that. And I'm not saying, Zach, that's what you're, I'm just saying, like, since we got into this discussion, like, that was one of my, like, holy shit, what was I doing to myself? Then it turns out, like, after you do that, if you pour yourself a drink, you have one and go to bed.
Yeah.
Right.
Not 15 or 16 or 17, which I'm not exaggerating. Yeah, that was pretty normal. Well, that just shut everybody. I was like, holy fuck, what did he do to himself?
No, Tactical right here, though. Say hi. This is the book
I'm all right. It depends on the night.
Yeah.
Is that Tactical?
Yeah, it's Tactical.
I'm actually getting ready to head out on the road, but that is a good book for anybody to listen to, or I listen to the audio book, but they actually
come on over,
yeah.
They actually talk about the marketing that goes into alcohol and how they're basically brainwashing you with the commercials, because you know, when you watch a TV commercial with Bud Light, everybody's happy. And so it's a really good book to listen to.
And all the women are half naked.
All the women are half naked.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway.
No, it is the marketing. And like Tactical was in the military like I was. A lot of us that have drank more than we should have, and we drank more than we should have if we were you and 2 other people. We're military, and like if you join the military when you're 17 or 18 years old, and your first duty station's overseas, where the legal drinking age is 18 or younger, and then you're bored because you can't go home because home's 5,000 miles away, and the only thing you have to do every night is go drinking with your buddies. 3-4 years later, when you get back in state, I mean, it's a habit.
Right.
It's a habit, and it's not even at that point. Maybe you don't even have a problem yet, but you've set the stage for a problem, and you don't even know you did it. Because when I was 24 years old, I could literally get tore up till 4 o'clock in the morning, get up at 0600, and run 4 miles, and not even blink. Like the guy in front of you that was stinking, you're like, move, get behind me in the formation, dude. You stink. Like you can't run. Like like you can't stay in step. I'm good, and you realize that, well, that guy's 25 and you're just 4 years behind him. Like, because you can get away with that shit. And that's why I think, like, we got to be careful how much we let our young people drink, honestly. I like what Germany does and France does and all. Where, like, they let the kids drink so it doesn't become this thing they can't do. So it doesn't become taboo and it doesn't get that allure. Well, but they also, like, they don't give the kid a glass of fucking Merlot. They give him, like, an ounce of Merlot and 4 ounces of water or whatever.
I spent some time in Germany in high school. I never served in the military. I grew up in it. I lived overseas for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, then that part's
Germany was great.
And they teach you how, like, there's a moderation that is part of the cultural drinking. They have alcoholism there too, but it's, I lived in Germany for a while, and it's like you will have a beer, not 7. And then we're like, you can't have it till you're 21. And on your 21st birthday, what do?
You drink it all.
Oh, you're vomiting, right? And then you have the hangover, your first hangover.
You drink it all.
Yeah.
Ice 101? What the fuck is that? Oh, that's like a peppermint candy. Give me 4 more of those. Like,
remember Zima? Zima.
I never tried Zima.
Oh, shit.
What is that?
Terrible.
See, he's too young to fucking know.
Yeah.
And you're lucky you don't fucking know.
Jack and I are the same age, so we know.
That was 1 year in the 90s that should have never fucking existed.
It's terrible.
It only existed for 1 year?
Yeah, about maybe one and a half years.
I think you can still buy them, but they were like really popular and tasted terrible.
It was like shitty Sprite with a shot of vodka in it. In a glass that had like this crystal look to it. Like,
yeah.
It was like, I don't know, like,
you had to mix 2 things, and then I don't know. I was
the bottle kind of, it didn't look like it, but it's the same kind of effect, like Finlandia vodka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it had that like sparkly thing going on, and like dudes would cover up that they were drinking it. Like I'm holding it, like in a bar. Like I'm holding it for my girlfriend. You ain't got no girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then
That's why
whenever
I
somebody
screwed up
says it's
Monday.
not bad, when somebody says, "Oh, it's not bad," that means it sucks.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Yeah, it is.
I try to stay away from the liquor. Usually, everything's been fine if I
Yeah.
stay at Natural Light or Miller Light. That Monday, that's when
Yeah,
a buddy
you're
of mine
right.
got the idea to buy these. They were like canned orange crushes, and it was like
No.
orange
No.
soda with vodka in it, and that's where shit went downhill.
That was what where Sam Kennison was at back in the 80s. Remember this, Nicole, when he talked about the Satan Schnapps experience?
Yeah.
Right? Like you should not make liquor taste like candy.
Right.
Because that's where you get the 110-pound girl that drinks the whole bottle of fucking bubblegum schnapps. And then like 2 hours later, you're trying to put her in a cab and send her home. And it's like fucking trying to put the Tasmanian fucking devil in a cab. She's like fucking pounding a hole in the fucking roof and shit. And you're like, you just need to go home. I'm fine. If you were fine, you wouldn't have punched the cab hole in the roof. Like, you got to calm your shit down, you know? Like, yeah. Yeah, that's even worse. Like, beer is beer and booze is booze, but you make booze taste like candy. No, that's where Dorothy gets into Dorothy fights.
Oh, I've never seen one of those.
She pounded a couple high noons a few years ago on the beach when we were in Florida. And there was this family sitting like to this side of us. Let me get to where you can see that. To this side of us, to that side of us. And the water was flowing that way. And they got in their little floaties. And this was like a full-grown man like my age in like a purple child's floaty. And they went up current of my lines and were drifting into them. And then bitching at me. I'm being all reasonable. Like, look, just lift them up and go under them, but don't stay up against them because that's like 65-pound braid and I'm catching sharks. And if that wraps around your ankle, it's going to cut to the bone. But I'm being nice about it. Well, Dorothy comes back and they're still like up against the fucking lines because they're that fucking stupid. And I tell her what's going on. And eventually one of the women is smarter than the dude and decides like, this is dumb. We're trying to be egotistical here and gets out. And they're walking by. And I'm still trying to be nice. Like, look, guys, it's not a big deal. Just go there. And Dorothy starts yelling at the guy. It's not fair. It's not fair. And he starts yelling some shit back at her. And she's going, oh, wow. Wow. By now, this guy's balls have to be the size of raisins and in his throat, right? And finally he goes, shut up. Just shut the fuck up. And I'm like, I'm totally placid. And I'm like, no, you do not tell my wife to shut the fuck up. So then I jump up. I'm like covered in sand. I'm all sweated. I'm all fucking jacked and pissed. And I'm like, I will beat your ass. And my wife goes, he will beat your ass. He will beat your ass in the ground. And like, if you know my wife, that's like a different human being existing inside of her, running her vocals.
Is this the same trip? This is the same trip you were talking about? Them girls walking under your poles and the fish bit it.
Oh yeah,
they're tipping their pole, hit it right in the head.
Fucking great. There was 3 chicks, and they were probably like 21, 22 years old.
You calling her beanhead? That was
They
the
were
funniest
beanhead.
shit I ever
Well,
heard of.
no, there were 3. One was a beanhead.
One was.
I want to be fair. One was, so the first 2 like see the rod and they like walk around the back side of it. It's sitting in a rod holder like this, and they stop the one that's a little bit behind them in her phone, and they point at it, and she's like, and then she walks under it, and just as she walks under it, a fish hits it, and the rod just like smacks the. It was like a good hit, and it was like my medium action rod where it can get that good whip. Like so, it was like somebody took the rod and went, Wah! And then she looks at me and she starts pitching at me, and I'm like,
"It's not fair."
Right? Like you did that on purpose, and I'm like, you know, if I could make fish bite whenever I wanted, I would be so fucking rich. I would own this island, and you wouldn't be here. Because that's how rich I would be. If I could just like look at a rod and go,
fish,
bite. Like I would win all the fishing tournaments. I would find Sanibel Island, and people like you would not be allowed here. And she was so upset and so mad. And I was just like, life just taught you something. You have a choice now. You can learn from it, or you cannot learn from it. But no way am I responsible for what just happened to you. That was fun. Anyway, I think we got Charles. I was going to say we should wrap up, but
Charles here.
You got one more in you, Nicole?
Yeah, sure. Hey, man.
All right, Zach.
What's up, dudes?
Appreciate
Take care.
I
feel a little bad that y'all were about to wrap up, and I was like, I'll jump in.
Oh,
good for you. Come on, man.
I haven't been watching the whole thing. I'm kind of like mid-working to get tomorrow's video posted, but I've been kind of casually listening. Some amazing stuff. Props to an almost 4-hour live stream.
That was not the plan when this
I was like, I'll drop in for an hour. It'll be great. It's like 2 o'clock.
Damn knocking on the door at dinner time.
So what's going on in Humble Mechanic Land?
Oh my gosh. Humble Mechanic Land is is super busy. I'm trying to put a race car together. I have a car for another YouTube channel that they're doing this cross-country road trip that I actually should be fixing now, but the car's just it's a disaster.
Oh, no.
And so but it'll make some amazing content because I can't give away all of it, but it's a giant pile of crap, and they're doing this cross-country road trip in this giant pile of crap car, and I'm loving that it's them and not me, because we just get to enjoy their misery for the bad choices that they've made. But things are amazing. I'm listening to some of these people on and talking about like I should do this and I should do that, and then like these guys are about to get ripped apart for not just doing, and hopefully they got the motivation they needed, right?
I feel like in this network, if you ask that question, you know you're going to get ripped, though, right? Like it happens time and time and time again, right? But it's kind of cool. So I guess I need to work on your website again, don't I?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's not a super priority for me. I wrapped up this 4-video series, this huge budget series.
Yeah.
And I actually had hired a video editor and a videographer and an editor, and things kind of fell apart midway through this project. So that tasked me with, we shot, just to kind of give scope of this this project. The majority of it was not shot in 4K, but there was a portion of it. We shot about 2 terabytes of footage over a month and a half for this project. Four videos came out on my end. They were great. They're doing really, really well. But I needed a minute after that. So that kind of took precedent over everything. But coming out of that, and got a bunch of really rad stuff lined up. And I feel like every time I hear the folks like, I should do this, and it's either you or Jack, like, just do it, damn it. I can't think of, like, I am the product of that. Like, I'm sitting here in this office in the addition that we built on our house last year because of just like, I don't know, let's do it and see what happens. And I feel like I've been blessed with the fortune of being too stupid to know better, to not do things. So it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's see how to do this. And, you kind of figure out your own path, and you try out a bunch of stuff, and some of it works and some of it doesn't. Sometimes you're like, well, that sucked, but I learned how to use Photoshop. So cool. Or, wow, that's really awesome and did way better than I could have possibly imagined. Let's do more of this one and less of that other one that, you spent a month screwing around with that was a complete flaw.
I gotta tell you a story. So I was at my brother-in-law's, my sister's house, and my brother-in-law has a VW, and we had just kind of started doing some stuff together. I'm like, oh yeah, do you know the Humble Mechanic? And he was like, I watch that guy every time anything comes out. I can't believe you know him.
It's so weird.
I was like, it's a strange network we run it. So what are your plans for the next 6 months or so after you get through the Hellmobile you're working on right now and this video series?
Yeah, so 6 months are, I'm about to sign actually 2 pretty large contracts for, it's going to work out to be about 20 videos. So I'll have more details on like some of that. So one's like a renewal of a contract. One's a brand new contract. I have a I have a keynote speech that I'm doing at an automotive training conference, which I can't think of someone less qualified to do a keynote speech than I'm. Like, it's so bad. I mean, I'm not like the smartest dude in the world, but I'm also not the stupidest. I had no concept really of what that meant to do a keynote speech. So I agreed to it, and like, I'm getting paid. So awesome. I'm like, let me just see what this is about. And I read what it's about. I'm like, I'm not fucking qualified for that. Like, what the hell business do I have doing that? So I have to actually write the speech and prepare for that, but it's really neat. I'm on the hunt for expanding again. I'm out of room here at this 1,000 square foot shop that we built last year. So I'm casually hunting for real estate to expand my endeavors. I'll probably end up hiring a couple of people next year to do a lot of the back end nuts and bolts stuff that I'm kind of done doing. So the empire grows, and I'm very thankful for that. Thankful for you guys for that, because damn, if it wasn't for Jack, like, man, you could do it. Like, just fucking do it. Like, I probably would have never just fucking done it.
Who gave you permission to start the Hummel Mechanic?
I mean, you were a huge part of that.
No,
really,
I didn't give you permission. You just fucking did it, right?
Well, did
some producer walk into a cafe and been like, dude, I got an idea. We can make a video show with you in it.
Where you
could be like this Volkswagen mechanic that talks about Chevrolets, and fuck, it'll be awesome. And I guarantee you, kid, you're going to be a star. Like, that didn't fucking happen. You just decided one day, like, fuck, I can do that shit.
If I would have known then what I knew now, what's kind of messed up is I would have never done it. Because I would have known too much. No, for real. I would have known too much about how scary it was, how hard it is, how many hours I would have worked. I would have been like, nah, I'm out. But I'm blessed with being too stupid or ignorant or motivated, I don't know what the right word is, to just not care about any of that and just dive in. I mean, Nicole, we may have had this conversation. Every big decision I've ever made, like, up one day going, I'm going to go to tech school, learn how to fix cars. Never fixed a car in my life worth a damn before. Finishing tech school. Okay, well, I can't get a job around here. Let's move to a state that my wife and I had never been to before to take this job that I've never done professionally. Then who knows if I'm going to be any good at it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do the research, just like, this looks like a cool spot. Let's go here. Same thing with this. Like, other people are doing it. I feel like if I can do a version of that, maybe it'll work out. Maybe it won't. I don't know. And here we are 5-6 years later. I quit my job 4.5 years ago, a job that I loved, by the way, a job that paid very well. I had all the benefits that, everybody wants from their job. My boss is a good friend of mine, even still today. I came and went as I pleased, made a bunch of money. And I'm just like, oh, and the best part, I had a 1-year-old daughter at the time. So, like, what better time to just go peace to your job than that? And my only regret is, like, I probably could have done it 6 months before I did, maybe. And now, I mean, you guys, the thing I think of the most when I think of, like, people in this space and, like, maybe I should or I really want to, if you only really knew what could be waiting for you on the other side of that decision, you would be kicking yourself for not doing it. Like, if you knew how good you could have it, whether that's to you, like, financially or for the freedom to, like, come and go as you please, the cool I mean, I'm wearing an F1, you can't tell. I'm wearing an F1 shirt from an F1 race that I got paid to go to. When was this? In 2014. So 6-7 years ago. Like, infinite opportunities, only limited by maybe what you want to say no to. And that's where I'm at now. Like, I just don't want to do certain things, and I don't have to. And it's amazing. Please, I'm like begging anybody that's watching, if you're thinking about it, just do it. Just do it. Because it's so worth it that, like, Jack can talk to you about till he's blue in the face. Nicole can too. I can too. Like, you got to just do it. And you'll go, oh, I should have done that 2 years ago. Why didn't I do that? That was such an easy thing. It's not such a simple thing is the right word.
It's
Why didn't
weird
I do it before?
Yeah,
it's weird too as it starts to take off. Like this is even before I did TSP. You were talking about doing a keynote speech. So I remember years ago, I got an email from a guy, would you consider doing a keynote speech? And it was for the Dallas Construction Trade Show or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really building buildings or anything. No, we need entrepreneurs to speak. And I'm like, okay, keynote, yeah. And they paid a speaker fee and all. And I was like, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'll come do that. It's like a couple hours of my time to go do it. I said, well, what do you think the attendance would be? And the guy on the phone's like, oh, about 12. And I said, 12? He goes, yeah, it won't be that big. It's about 1,200 for the keynote speech. The fuck would 1,200 fucking people want to give a fuck about what that you're going to say? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I hung the phone up. I'm talking to my partner. I'm going, fuck, I don't know what I just agreed to. He's like, just go fucking talk to him the way you talk to our board every day. They'll eat out of your hand. And I'm like, I don't know about that. He's like, have you ever been to a keynote speech? I'm like, yeah. He goes, have you ever been bored out of your fucking ass? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, have you ever been bored listening to yourself? Like, no. He goes, neither have I. You'll be fine. He said, do what you always do. Go make them think about how they can make money and make them laugh.
And
if you do those two things, if you do those two,
qualified for this.
Yep. If you can do it, that's what Neil Franklin taught me above all things. If you can make people laugh, and you can make people learn, and you can make people believe 1% more in themselves after you talk than before you talked, they'll come back and listen to you again.
That's it.
And that's why the guy won the fucking Branson Award twice. There's literally only one company in the history of all companies that won the Richard Branson Award twice, and it's Neil's. But he built everything on that. Make them learn, make them laugh, and make them believe in themselves 1% more. And I think we should probably wrap there because we've been on fucking air like 3 hours and 36 fucking minutes. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys sticking around for me.
I'm ready to slut up my virgin. I mean, at this point, I want to throw a little hit for that. I just saw that. I did this on purpose. This glass was given to me by my friend Brian Black at ITS Tactical on the 5th anniversary celebration of his business. TSP celebrated 13 years this year, and ITS Tactical celebrated 12. And Brian's business was started the same way that Charles's was, Nicole's was, I was. It was, hey, I think I can do this. And then a diehard work ethic, at least one piece of content every fucking day. And I'll tell you, as good as the three of us do, I wish that bastard was here with his new Porsche. He does better than all of us. And he does better than all of us because he's at a point in his life where he's younger than us. And he's willing to have 30 employees. Like, and we're not like, fuck that. Like, no, we're not going to do that. But he's built an empire. But it's the same formula, guys. So, like, if anything you heard from anybody today makes you think, could I really do that shit? The answer is yes.
Yep.
You know?
Go do it.
Go do it. Make it
You're
happen.
your own boss. You are probably not going to require the job if you don't want the job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, no. Like, you say what you say about having the dream job, Charles, but when COVID hit, who fired you, laid you off, or told you couldn't work?
Yeah, you know what's crazy is I had like a month where I was really concerned, and I think Nicole, we had talked kind of around this time where I was legit concerned about what's going to happen, and I had all this travel planned, and it was this whole big production at the beginning of last year. My daughter and I flew to Chicago for her birthday and my grandma's birthday, had a really great weekend. We came home 3 days later, the world shut down. After that month was over, I made more money last year than I have ever made in my life. During the middle of a pandemic where I didn't travel, got to be home and hang out with my family. We built this, well, my office isn't really all that exciting, but like we built this really rad shop space and I got to be home for it. And next year's looking better. And the year after that'll be looking better than that.
See, I love hearing that, Charles, because when I tell people that about 2020, they're like, well, you're in prepping. Of course you fucking did. But it wasn't because I was in prepping. It's because we were producing content for people that they wanted.
Yep.
And they just had more time to consume it. So you did it with cars. Nicole did it with coffee. I did it with prepping. Like, we all did it because the opportunity was there, but it was the years of work that went in before it happened. And so what became a detriment to most people became an opportunity. And that's the biggest impetus I can give to people to become an entrepreneur. If you want to live in a world where detriments become assets and opportunities, do something for yourself. And thanks to both of y'all for being here, especially Nicole, because Nicole, you've been here like 2.5 hours now. You know?
Yeah, I got an event next weekend, so I got to go get ready for that. But
yeah. Well, and those of y'all that are coming, hey Charles, when the fuck are you going to come down to TSP something?
I need to. Yeah. Wait.
November would be a great.
You just went fucking Xavier Hawk. I.
Just fucking do it. Is that the way to say it? Yes is the answer. We'll figure out the details another time, but yes is the answer.
This year?
When is it?
November.
10th, 11th. I think it's 11th, 12th.
The week of Veterans Day. It's what it always is.
Okay, that's not off the table. That's the week after SEMA for me, which is a huge, big long week. But I also haven't found a compelling reason to go. AKA, I haven't found anybody to pay me to be there yet. So we'll. I'm gonna go write it on the calendar and figure out the details.
We'll at least give you a mattress on the floor. You won't have to sleep in a tent.
Hey, that's better. I got a car I could sleep in. It's fine. I actually have a couple. It's all right.
All right.
So tentatively, Charles Double Mechanic added to the November lineup.
Put me on the possible.
And if you come, I will give you a slot to speak, of course.
So then that makes me wonder the question: what's more pressure, a keynote or a presentation at a Jack workshop?
A keynote. If you can do a keynote, this is cake.
Yeah.
It's cake. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. If Jake Robinson can fucking do it,
you can do it.
You can do it. There's just no doubt about it. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for everybody coming. Thanks to Nicole. Thanks to Charles.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody that hung with us this long. We ebbed up to about 200. We kept about 65 through. The 65 that are still here, y'all got the real pearls of wisdom at the end because Charles came on. Take care, guys. Have a good day.
Later.
Bye, guys.